All right. Hello, everybody. Making sure all my streams are live. I appreciate you guys joining in today. I am super excited to talk to you guys. I don't know if y'all missed me on Friday. Was anybody looking for me on Friday? Hold on. First, let me see if I can get my microphone together.
Bluetooth mode.
Testing. Hold on, I gotta turn that echo down. Testing. All right. Hello, everybody. I don't know if anybody was looking for me on Friday. I'm sorry, y'all. I was not feeling too well, but it's okay because I'm back and I'm better. And I'm excited to be talking to you guys, making sure I'm getting on my screens correct. So, today is the last live stream of Financial Literacy Awareness Month, and I am super excited to be talking to you guys. I don't know if I need this microphone. I feel like the microphone might be a little bit overkill because I talk loud anyway. Y'all can hear me, right? If anybody's in this live and y'all watching, let me know if y'all can hear me, okay? If not, I will go back to the microphone. But for right now, I think that y'all could probably hear me okay. So I'm super excited to be doing this. I know y'all probably missed me last Friday. Wasn't feeling well, but it's okay because guess what? This message that I have for you guys needed a little bit more time to marinate and percolate and get itself together. So I'm excited to be able to present that to you guys and make sure that y'all are with me. Hold on, I'm just making sure I got all my screens together and I can see good. Okay. So today's topic for Financial Literacy Awareness Month. Now, I'm on live stream on my TikTok, and I really try my best to get the screen together for you guys because every time I've been going live, I've been utilizing StreamYard, which has been really great for this month of April. And with StreamYard, I'm able to show a presentation slides. And I want my TikTok to be able to see my presentation slides as well, but I'm not sure if y'all will be able to see them because they're backwards. So sorry about that to my TikTok people. And I'm just hitting this cord. Hold on, let me go to this side. Okay. So at least y'all can see the screen, but it's going to be backwards for my TikTok people. Like I've been saying for the past couple streams, if you want to, I'm trying to get my angle right with this thing right here. If you want to see the screen the right way with all the presentation slides, you could go to my YouTube. I'm also live streaming this on my Instagram, my Facebook. I'm really trying to get more content out there, more, things that people can just go look, learn about what I do, learn more about the things I'm passionate about, talking to people about. So, just trying to make sure I have more content out there. And I hope that, maybe you, if this is the first live stream that you're seeing, I hope that you go back and watch my other live streams. I have done 3 other live streams so far. And actually, we're going to start today with recapping a little bit of what we talked about so far. But I hope that you will go back and watch that because I did work really hard on those presentations. And they all culminate to the message that I have for y'all today. And I'm going to stop fidgeting around with these daggone screens and just get to it because y'all can see me, okay? Y'all see me. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know who I am. Let me just come to this side. There we go. There we go. We're finding solutions. She's working it out. Okay, there we go. So, guys, let's go ahead and hop in. There we go. Okay, so before we start with today's message, I want to start by recapping what we have talked about so far. Because, one thing that they say about good speakers is you tell them, then you tell them what you told them, and then you tell them again, right? So let me tell you what I told y'all so far, okay? So week one, we started by talking about money mindset and financial stress, which we know we got a lot of right now, right? And so we talked about how it's mixed messages coming from every which way, from the government, from the just life advice that they told us to go to school, get a good job, get the good grades, then you're going to retire and it's all going to work out and be okay, right? And that's what they told us. But now that it's not working out, a lot of people are like, it's not working, right? So that can cause a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, not to mention we're seeing lots of layoffs happening. We're, hearing mixed messages like our economy is doing better than ever, but people are filling their pockets and they like, where's the money, right? Like I'm not feeling like this is the best economy ever, right? So I really appreciate how we started this journey together for Financial Literacy Awareness Month, starting by talking about our mindset, starting by talking about what's the reality of what's really going on and not pretending like everything is all fine, right? And being able to get to a place where we say, you know what? I am going to have a plan. That's the best way to address financial stress and anxiety is by having a plan and sticking to it. And also reaching out to the other people around me, other resources, other people that I can rely on if times are hard, if I'm, struggling to keep up, right? So that was week one. And then we went to week two and we started talking about budgeting and debt, which I know that's a doozy because right now debt is skyrocketing and budgets are out the window, right? Especially when we talk about me and my fiance earlier today went to the gas tank, filled up the gas, and he was just a cursing and angry and just mad as I don't know what. And I mean, I get it, right? Because gas is expensive. So not along with other bills, along with groceries, along with everything. So it's like, how do I even budget right now? How do I keep up with this rising cost of living, with these dramatic changes in prices? Predictability is beginning to get harder and harder, right? So in week two, I really appreciate that we were able to break down, starting with exactly like understanding what debt actually is, what keeps us trapped in those debt cycles. We talked about how budgeting can, first of all, eliminate your need for debt. Because if you think about it, most of the time, the reason why we go into debt is because we didn't have the funds accessible at the time to buy or do whatever it is we were trying to do at that time, right? So whether it's a credit card or a house, right? Most of the time people don't have all the cash on hand to buy a house outright. So we go with a mortgage, right? Rightfully so. But basically the power of budgeting and tracking and mapping your money allows you to have savings and have reserves that we can rely on instead of accumulating more debt, right? So, and then week three, last week, we talked about saving and investing. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Have you ever been, this kind of a side note, have you ever been talking so long that sometimes you end up losing the plot and you're like, what am I even saying at this point? Like, what am I talking about, right? That's almost how I felt at the end of my last live stream. It was a pretty long live stream. So honestly, if you were able to stick through that whole live stream, thank you. I feel like it was very informative. It was great, right? Give me some feedback if you watched it. I felt like it was great, but it was definitely long, right? So today we're going to make sure that we summarize like, okay, what is it exactly do we need to know about saving and investing? And again, reiterating, this is not me telling you what you need to invest in. And as a matter of fact, any financial advisor who is telling you, hey, invest in this, purchase this, your red flag should go up, okay? Because there is a whole process called suitability where you go through a process of getting to know what are your needs, what's your time horizon, what money you have available, what's your risk tolerance, right? So because this is just a live stream and I'm not doing all that with you. Now, if you want that, let's talk about a consultation, which I will make sure that you get that information at the end of this live stream. But we're going to talk about, saving and investing, analyzing the investment market, and discussing the importance of making your money work for you so that you will not always have to work for your money. And that's a very big thing, guys, because I've been having some conversations lately, and I think people are becoming interested in investing, and they are hearing conversations about investing. Maybe they're thinking about it, but they're just not sure where to start. It can be a bit intimidating, right? Which is why I feel like our last live stream, when we talked more about that, very impactful, very good information. But today, we're just going to make sure that we hit those last few points, boom, bam, pow, make sure that it really, culminates and summarizes everything that we said there. So let's go ahead and talk about the main takeaways. So, you know what? I'm going to go back to the mic because I feel like when I turn this way, I don't know if y'all can hear me.
Bluetooth mode.
Okay, so the main takeaways so far. One, understanding that the current financial news and political news is there to distract and overwhelm the public. And the best way to overcome financial anxiety is to have a clearly laid out plan and stick to it. So you have a major life change that requires you to adjust. So again, like I was saying, there is a lot of news that is coming out. It's coming out fast paced, and it can be quite mind boggling, concerning. That's an understatement, right? That's me saying the least. And we could talk about any arena, right? Like, we don't even have to go there. I'm not trying to make this political. I'm not trying to make this about, this group versus this group. What I'm trying to say is there's a lot of news coming out right now, and it can make you feel a certain way. And it's best for you to not just ignore that, but actually first acknowledge, how is it making me feel? How am I reacting to this? And the solution is to stick to a plan, and adjust the plan, not when I'm hearing crazy headlines that makes me think, oh my God, is the economy collapsing? Do I need to take all my money off the market? No. We adjust when we have major life changes. What's an example of that? Maybe you just had a baby. Maybe you just got married. Maybe you just got a house. These are things that are reasons to adjust your financial plan. But outside of that, you're not adjusting your plan or adding a new vehicle, adding a new thing every time you hear somebody on TikTok or somebody on the internet talking about it. And that's a girl coming to you live from TikTok. So it's like, just don't go with what everybody is saying. Stick with the plan that works for you, is the point there. And also, one other point that we really talked about when we talked about financial news and specifically about investing, we are experiencing, how can I say this politely? We're experiencing an administration that is purposefully choosing times to release certain news and certain headlines to get a certain reaction out of our financial markets. And I think if people knew that information and if they were aware of that, they would be able to kind of see through the BS and be able to be less reactive, right? Like, you having an overreaction is exactly what they want. So I'm gonna leave it with that. Okay, next point. There are many contradictory messages out there when it comes to the financial future of the United States. Follow a strategy that aligns with your values and beliefs. So again, I'm not telling you don't buy gold or build a bunker. If that is what you really believe is going to happen, if that's going to make you feel financially safe and secure, sure, right? Go for it. But what I'm saying is, have a plan and just don't react to what everybody is saying, okay? and a plan that aligns with your values and beliefs. I think especially when you are a young adult, you are looking around for someone to tell you what you should do with your money, with a lot of things, but especially with money. And you're like, I don't know. I just do what my mama told me, or I just do what my friends told me, or I heard this one rich person one time say, do this with your money, so I decided to do this, right? And it's nothing wrong with getting ideas from others, but I think it's important to also consider, does this actually align with my values and beliefs? Next point. Debt is an income thief, and it gets more expensive the longer that you carry it. So if you guys remember that one slide with the person trying to carry a rock up a mountain, right? That's what it feels like when you are carrying debt month to month. And I think a lot of people feel that, and nobody wakes up and says, oh, I'm just going to go accumulate 4, 5, 6 figures of debt today, right? Or I'm just going to allow myself to get to this situation. Nobody purposefully does it, but the point of us talking about it is first releasing the shame, understanding how and why we got here, the habits, the financial situations that caused us to accumulate this debt, learning the lesson, and then being able to move forward, right? Like on how we can make sure we don't end up in this debt situation again, or whatever it may look like, right? So just understand that, especially, and we also spent a lot of time talking about financial nihilism, right? Like, I wouldn't suggest getting into a mindset that's just like, oh, well, I don't care what's going to happen. Like, the world's going to burn anyway. So I'm just going to blow through my money and rack up a bunch of debt because we all going to die one day, right? And while this is true, I understand. I, again, just want you to have a healthy balance between living for today, enjoying things that you want to enjoy, but also having a strategy to actually pay down debt. Because what if you don't die? And then you're going to be an old person with a whole bunch of debt, and you're going to have to keep working because you have debt, right? So debt is an income thief. Next point. There are several types of debt and several strategies to approach eliminating debt. I'm not going to go in on that point right now because our next slide is going to go in on that point. Next point, you should take time to ask yourself how you feel about budgeting. What makes you feel financially safe? If you find that you have negative experiences with money, take time to work through that so that you will actually stick to the budget that you create. Guys, this is a really big one because I think a lot of times, like I was saying earlier, especially when you're young, you're just getting started, maybe you've never created a budget before, it's a whole lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? It's like, I should save money for this. I should be investing. I should be paying off my credit card every month, right? And we see a whole bunch of categories on a budget that are not actually being checked off every month, or you start the month with the budget and then it's out the window after the first week, right? And the reason why, because most of the time first of all, we haven't worked through our feelings of what feelings come up for me when I think of a budget. And, I don't consider myself very like woo-woo or whatever, but I think when it comes to finances, there are a lot of spiritual principles, a lot of mental, money mindset things that you have to overcome as you mature and grow your financial literacy. One of those things is addressing, how do I actually feel about budgeting, right? Like, is this something that a lot of people have a frame of budgeting, a perspective of budgeting that's like, this is very limiting. Like, oh my God, I put on my budget that I can only spend $200 eating out. And now I'm hanging out with the girls and we on our third round of drinks and I already am at $195 in my budget. And I just want to have a good time. So the budget's out the window now, right? So if that's what comes up for you every time you go to create a budget, what do you think is going to happen with your budget? It's probably not going to be followed, right? So, what I want to say is ask yourself, how do I actually feel about budgeting? Ask yourself, what makes you feel financially safe? I was having this conversation with a client the other day, and I asked them, when you log in to your banking app and you look at the account, what is the amount that is below a certain threshold that makes your heart skip a beat and you like, oh no, this is not good. I got heart palpitations, I'm stressed out, is not enough money sitting right there, right? That is a unique amount to every person. Obviously, if you have a house, you got kids, you got all these different things in the picture, then that number is going to be more, bigger. But if it's just you, then it doesn't, then it might not be as big. But the thing about it is that you need to ask yourself, like, what is the amount that will actually make me feel financially safe? That when I log into this account, as long as I have this in my savings, as long as I have this in my checking, whatever it is, as long as I have this in my investment account, I can woosah. I think that's the question not enough people ask themselves, and I'm challenging not only my clients, but even you watching this live stream, ask yourself that question, because that's something that we want to incorporate into your budget. Also, I already said, if you find that you have negative experiences, understand how to work through that. Maybe you need to work with a therapist. Maybe you need to work with a money coach like myself. I will tell you, most financial advisors, people who invest money, they don't have time for that. They are not trying to have you in their office to have a therapy session. They there to say how much money you have to invest and thank you, goodbye. Right? That's it. So I take great pride and pleasure and being the type of money coach that actually helps people to overcome maybe some negative experiences you previously had with your finances and make sure that we are creating healthy habits that build financial confidence moving forward, right? But I'm telling you, that's not a thing that happens often. And when we see experiences of people who make a whole bunch of money and then blow through the money, they did not take the time to grow their financial literacy habits. Grow their financial literacy, improve their habits, improve their discipline, improve their confidence, and ask themselves questions like this, right? Next bullet point here. Okay, here we go. When you are mapping and tracking your money, it gives you the financial freedom to say yes to things that you align with and value, and no to things that take you off the path of your financial goals. This is definitely really important because, like I was saying earlier, it's important to make sure that we are reframing what budgeting actually means in our mind. And this is a really great way to do it, because with that, doesn't that sound so much more empowering rather than me saying, oh, I can only spend $200 going out this week, right? This allows me to say, okay, yes, I have allotted $200 to me going out, but guess what? I'm just throwing numbers out there. The other $300 that I usually spend out on weekends is actually now going towards savings and for a big trip that I'm planning next year. And that's more important to me. Or is going to save towards a investment property, and that's really important to me. Or is going to save for my generational wealth, passing it on to my kids, and that's more important to me. So being able to reframe it is such a important thing when it comes to budgeting and thinking about mapping and tracking your money. Also, take time to reframe what it means to invest in your mind. Remember, you don't need certainty to invest, you need strategy. I feel like that is just such a good point, because I think when it comes to investing, a lot of people are scared and they're waiting for the perfect time, right? Maybe they're waiting for the perfect time when they have more disposable income to actually invest. Or they say, oh, well, let me take care of this bill first, or let me do this home renovation first, or let me understand the market. Let me research. Let me investigate. Let me, like, so many things. And you never actually get to investing. But the most important thing is just to start and understand that with strategy and time in the market, not timing the market, meaning trying to time, like think of a double dutch player trying to time when to jump in. They're not trying to time when they're jumping in. They're just going in and they're in there getting their reps in, right? The more you in that double dutching, the better you're gonna get. Versus the person who's in there like, all right, I'm coming. I'm about to jump in. I'm coming. Like, okay, are you coming? Hello, right? So remember, when it comes to investing, no risk equals no reward. Investing inherently involves risk. Investing inherently involves risk. Okay? There's no form of investing where there's not possibility of you losing some money, losing some value, losing maybe, even opportunity costs. Knowing that should free you to say, you know what? I'm gonna go in with a strategy. I'm not just gonna throw it in there and be like, all right, let's see what's gonna happen. That's like gambling pretty much. No. But with strategy, we can, reduce risk, we can take in consideration time, all these types of things, right? Next point, a true sign of financial literacy is utilizing the right financial tools in the right way. This is really important because we often see, especially, it really grinds my gears to see people on the internet who maybe don't have financial licenses or don't really know what they're talking about and telling you to use life insurance as something for an investment. Life insurance is not an investment. Okay, that's an example of somebody who doesn't have financial literacy and is using the wrong tool in the wrong way. They trying to clean a window with a hammer. What's going to happen? You're probably going to break the window. Okay, I just went off on a little tangent there, but the point is, when you understand how the financial product works, you use it in the right way and at the right time. Also, not every financial product is for right away, right? There's an era in your life where you're maybe investing in a Roth IRA or a 401k. And then there's also an area in your life where maybe an annuity makes more sense. There's areas in your life when you have kids that a 529 might come into play, right? So different financial products at different times, but properly understanding how they are used, the fees, the taxes, all the things involved, and utilizing it in your strategy in the right way at the right time. Which again, it might sound like, wow, that sounds like a lot, but that's why it's important to have a strategy. Work with a professional. Work with somebody who has some qualified expertise and can guide you, right? And then lastly, for the main takeaways, and again, and this is me just reviewing what we have talked about so far in our past 3 live streams. Last point here is there are ways to ethically invest your money and control what initiatives your investments go to and support. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So hold on. You come back over here. There we go. Okay, so this is just some of what I think is some of the best visuals from the live streams we have done so far. Now, remember, the first live stream, I didn't have presentation and everything together, which I must admit, I feel like my live stream production is getting better and better each live. Okay, I'm still working on it. I'm still evolving and getting better. And also, I want to get to a point where I'm releasing the clips, you know what I mean? The little clips and whatnot. But okay, for right now, we're good, right? So here is some of the best visuals from the live streams so far. And the first one is over here about debt, right? So remember, there are 2 different, or most famous, there are a lot of different approaches that you can take to eliminate and pay down debt, but these are probably the 2 most popular. and they are the debt avalanche strategy and the debt snowball strategy, right? And basically, with these two strategies, one of them prioritizes paying off the highest interest bearing debt first, which that is great because if you think about it, like you're in a boat and the boat has some holes in the bottom of the boat, so you're sinking. You want to plug up the largest holes first. Why? Because then less water is coming in, less water you got to scoop out so that you can stop sinking. Same thing with your debt, right? Paying off the highest interest bearing debts first is the debt avalanche. The other way around is debt snowball, which prioritizes the highest principal first, right? So paying off the largest chunk of debt. This might work best if we're approaching things like a student loan, a mortgage. These are larger payments, right? It's the other way around. Paying off the smallest debts first, then moving on to the bigger one is the snowball, and the avalanche is paying off the highest interest rate first, and then moving on to the next interest rate. Then we talked about revolving credit versus installment credit. So knowing which type of debt you actually have. Is it a fixed interest rate or a revolving interest rate, meaning variable, meaning it can go up and down? And it's important that you know that because the ones that can go up and down, like for example, a credit card, those are the ones you want to pay off every month. Now, I'm sure most people have heard pay off your credit cards every month, but maybe you might not understand why they actually say that. Like, why do people say that? Reason why is because the interest is variable, meaning it can go up and down. Not to mention, as we said earlier, the longer that you carry debt, the more expensive it gets, right? So something that maybe you were gonna just pay, I'm throwing numbers out here. Maybe you was just gonna pay $1,000 for it because you carried the debt month to month. You end up paying $1,500. Why? Because the interest, right? So make sure you pay attention to what are the things that I have that are variable interest moving up and down, they're revolving, and what are the ones that are installments, they're fixed. This is a good example of that. Again, it's like a mortgage, a student loan. If you have ever consolidated a loan, they'll often give you a fixed interest rate versus a whole bunch of variable rates, right? So that was from the debt. Then this was from our saving and investing presentation, dollar cost averaging. I think that's a very important concept that people should understand. And if I were to put it simply, what is dollar cost averaging? It means that you're putting the same amount of money into a pot of money with a whole bunch of other investors, or just into a fund, for example, systematically, meaning every month, no matter if the market is up, down, left, right, you're not paying attention to that. You're just putting in your same $50, $100, whatever it is every month, and you're allowing that value to purchase shares, whether it's high or low. And this method has been proven over time to most often get an investor higher returns than the investor that, like we were saying earlier, is waiting to jump into the double Dutch game. They're jumping in and jumping out, right? Or maybe they put in $1,000 one time and that's it. And that's all the investing they're doing for the year, which, hey, if maybe you have a summer job, maybe you have you work gig economy, nothing wrong with that, right? Something is better than nothing. But the point of dollar cost averaging is that over time, when you systematically purchase or put the same amount into a fund, you are getting different amounts of shares, which over time gives you more shares, which equals more value, okay? And then the other thing that I share with you guys in the saving and investing presentation is this risk return pyramid, which again, this is actually from which I didn't say this earlier, but these two infographics are from Investopedia. I do not have any affiliation with them, but I thought this was very informative. This one is actually from US labor statistics data. This one is from my textbook that I'm studying for my exam, the Series 65 exam, which is an investment license. I already have 2 investment licenses. This is my 3rd investment license. So this right here is not, I want to emphasize, not a recommendation of any sorts, but I think it's great to be able to look at because I think sometimes people get really worked up about risk, and they get very nervous or maybe when they think of investing, their mind might immediately go to something like stocks or something like gold and silver or real estate, right? Like your mind can go so many different places when we say just the word investing. So this is great because it's able to show us, okay, you know what? The higher we go on this pyramid, the more risk of loss, or it's more aggressive, it's a bit more speculative, which means that there are people who monitor the market and are trying to predict, right? So basically, the higher we go on this, the more risk, and the lower we go, then we have less risk, but it's a bit more conservative, but we can expect more predictable returns, right? And the point of me sharing this with you guys is because I think a diversified investor may have something from different places, not all of them. I'm not saying all of them. I'm not even suggesting you have any one of these. But what I'm saying is someone who is diversified may have something from different areas on this pyramid, some that are more, I don't want to use the word safe, but I'm going to say more predictable, a bit more conservative, a bit more less aggressive, but they may also have different funds, different investment accounts, different portfolio accounts that are a bit more speculative and a bit more risk. And if you are someone who is interested in the things that are a bit more speculative and include a bit more risk with investing, nothing wrong with that. My suggestion is that you just make sure that you have enough emergency reserves, that you have diversified investments so that we're not putting all our eggs in one basket, right? If you're looking at your investment portfolio and it's all based in one thing, one stock, one crypto, one real estate portfolio holding, one whatever, any one of these things, you are putting yourself at risk. It's like imagine an elevator in an elevator shaft and it's being held by one cord versus one that's being held with like 6 or 7 cords all hanging down the elevator, right? I don't know if y'all can visualize what I'm doing, but basically, which one you gonna get on? The one that's being held up with one cord or the one that's being held up with 6 cords? Probably the one that's being held up with 6 cords, because the one that's being held up with one cord, if that one cord snap, you're dropping in the elevator down to the ground. That's not gonna be good, right? So all that to say, being diversified matters. And when you think of investing, understand there is a wide range of different places that you can invest money that have different risk profiles, even within these, right? Even within each one of these blocks. Okay. I don't need to continue to belabor that point. And then lastly, when it comes to saving and investing, again, this is really great for someone who's just young, just getting started. Maybe I don't know the first thing about investing. I don't know the first thing about saving money. This is my first time. You might be thinking to yourself, where do I start? Where do you start? Again, not recommending any specific account here, but what I am suggesting is that you designate your money into these 4 different spaces. One, and one of the most important ones, is an emergency fund. again, it doesn't make sense to save and invest a whole bunch of money if something happens. You need to get your hands on some money. You need liquid money to, if something were to go wrong, if an unplanned expense were to come up, you need to have an emergency fund, right? So that's one of the most important ones. Then we have short-term savings. This is something within, maybe a 3 to 5 year timeline, something that, is maybe a year plus out, but I want to start saving for it. Maybe it's a vacation, maybe it's a home, maybe it's a car, maybe it's I don't know, right? But it's something that is within your horizon and you are saving for it now. That is short-term savings account. Then we have long-term savings, right? So this is more so aligned with um, retirement accounts, something that maybe instead of your starter home is the dream home, maybe it is a investment property, but it is something that is more long term. We're talking like a 10-year plus timeline. And again, the best thing that your money can do for you is have time in the market to work for you and compound and grow. So long term investments and savings are a really great, definitely a key part to your investment and saving strategy. And then lastly, we have wealth building and inheritance, right? Some people are in a position where they know they're not having kids. Okay, nothing wrong with that. You can still have a wealth building account that maybe you pass on a legacy fund, a scholarship, a something that leaves your mark on this earth, that provides to your community, to a group of people that you can give back to. But for most people, we're talking about generational wealth and making sure that whoever is your dependent, your children, your spouse, you're leaving money behind for them. This is one of the least selfish accounts that you'll ever do because you're not going to benefit from it while you're still living, right? We're talking about money that we're passing on. Okay. So, and then lastly, as I have been discussing with you guys, one of my latest obsessions has been cooperative economics and mutual aid. And I want to just kind of rant for a little bit and yap. Y'all already know, okay? You already know I'm a yapper, okay? But my Reverend was talking about this today in our sermon and talking about just when you feel like you have a calling in your life, and being patient with receiving a message and allowing yourself the time to develop and grow. So I truly feel that my path with cooperative economics and mutual aid is something I am truly very passionate about. I really feel like it's a calling in life for me. I feel like a lot of my life events so far have been leading me on the path to talk to people about this. So expect a lot more of this type of talk from me, because it interests me and I think it's doable for us as a people. And most importantly, something that I have been discussing throughout these past few live streams is that when times feel very chaotic and it looks like our country, our economy, even just globally, we're going through a lot of change and transition, and some of it is forced change, some of it is inaccuracies and inefficiencies being exposed, and all of that is uncomfortable and it can be scary, it can be anxiety driving, and I don't want to negate that. All of that is very real. But the thing that I truly believe will help us as a people get through this challenging time, this time of transformation and transition, and a country that inevitably is changing, right? Like I could yap about this for a really long time, but like our country is coming up on 250 years, and a lot of empires along that same timeline have gone through major shifts and changes. And I'm not here to fearmonger, but what I am here to say is I believe as a people, how we are going to make it through that time, because we can, is by relying on each other, by returning to a more communal, more matriarchy aligned way of life, way of economy. And I believe that that is something that interests more people, but they're like, okay, but how do we financially do it? And I really am excited about being the type of money coach that shows people how to financially do it, because it can be done. So, with all of that yapping said, we have taken time to review different ways that you can implement these communal financial strategies to work with your chosen community and elevate together. And that's another thing, guys. You get to choose who your community is. Maybe it's your direct family. Maybe it's extended family. Maybe it's your chosen family. Maybe it's people you work with. Maybe it's your neighbors. Maybe it's not, right? But you get to choose. And that's the beautiful part. And then y'all get to elevate together. Instead of coming together and feeling scared or feeling like, what is next? And there's a certain level of obvious planning, right? And understanding that we all need to be on the same page about. But rather than us feeling doom and gloom, why wouldn't we focus our energy on more positive things, things that can not only give each other financial support and relief, but also help each other elevate and grow and improve your community. So what does that look like? Things like, it's kind of cut off on the edge here, but it's okay. It's fine. You guys see it. Again, if you're watching this on my TikTok live, maybe go to my YouTube, my Facebook, whatever. I know the visuals ain't too clear right here, but I'm trying my best. Okay. So maybe it might look like you guys putting money together to invest in a property, or maybe improve properties in your community, a cleanup, an organization that supports rebuilding communities, not gentrification. Maybe it looks like you doing group emergency savings. We talked about that in our savings and investing live stream, right? Being able to come together with a group of people with a specific goal in mind. And maybe that goal is having an emergency relief fund. If God forbid somebody's life's about to get turned out, about to get evicted, they don't have meals for the week, we have a community emergency fund that we can, or a family emergency fund that we can dish out money accordingly, right? Maybe it looks like carpooling, right? And I wanted to make sure I included things here that maybe you're not in a position where you have financial support right now, but that doesn't mean that you can't implement other aspects of cooperative economics, mutual aid, because carpooling, I talked earlier about gas. We $88 to fill up our gas tank, right? So gas is very expensive. Maybe it looks like, okay, I'm gonna ride with you to work on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you drive Tuesday, Thursday. I don't know, right? But I'm just saying, we're most of the time people are in a place where they're like, I'm gonna just figure it out. I'm gonna bootstrap it. I'm gonna just get it done. I'm gonna just do what I can, and I must just struggle through it. But I really feel we need to be able to first keep it real with each other, right? Like, let your people know. Again, emphasis on your chosen community, not everybody in your life, but the people who you feel safe with, letting them know when you're struggling. And then don't just be like, damn, that sucks. No, actually, let's talk about, okay, how can we as a group support each other, uplift each other financially, whatever. Maybe it looks like you going to your community center, right? Community centers are very underrated. Sometimes they have free resources, free classes, volunteer opportunities. And if you don't have a community center that is near you, maybe you create a community group, a Facebook page, a group, whatever, right? Like, be the change you wish to see in the world. And I know that sounds corny and everything, but for real, guys, like, that is what is going to help us in these times when I don't even want to say that, when the people who are in charge, who are supposed to be supporting us and caring for us, are not. We have to do it for each other, okay? Maybe it looks like you either contributing to a food drive, hosting a food drive, or going to a food drive. Again, I wanna free you and tell you, put the shield down, put the armor down. Okay, sometimes it comes down to it and you have to be like, listen, I'm just going to have to go to the food bank, and maybe it's not a regular occurrence, but maybe you might need a few odds and ends, and taking the shame out of that, right? Releasing the shame of saying, I need help. It might also look like maybe you bulk shop for other people. Maybe you receive food stamps. I talked about this in my savings and investing live stream as well, right? If you have somebody in your family, maybe they receive food stamps. They don't use all the food stamps every month. That person goes to Costco or whatever, a place where they can get a large amount of things and have those resources to give out. Maybe it's even to the homeless or to just people who are in the group who might need support, relief, whatever, a meal for a day, right? Like, you underestimate how that can really help and uplift someone, right? And even if it looks like, okay, we all in the same apartment building, all right, y'all come up to my apartment for Monday's dinner, we going down to Susie's apartment for Tuesday dinner, we going over to Bobby's apartment for Thursday dinner, right? Like, that is something that might seem small, but not only is that bringing people together and creating community, but it's also financially helping someone. A community garden, we kind of already talked about that, right? But if you have the free time, maybe you volunteer, maybe you grow food. Like, I have, again, I'm not here to fearmonger, but I've been seeing a lot of headlines about how our country in the future could experience food insecurity, or if not America, other countries, due to the wars that we're creating, could experience and currently are experiencing food insecurity. Therefore, rather than being caught off guard, maybe, and this is also with bulking too, bulk shopping, maybe you do need to go every once in a while and get that extra can of food, or maybe you do need to learn how to grow something in your backyard, because if you go to the grocery store and the aisles are clear and the truck stops showing up to the grocery stores to deliver the food, what you gonna do, right? And I say this myself, being someone, I would love to garden. I don't currently, right? But I'm saying this to say these are things that aren't necessarily traditionally talked about in financial planning, but I want to talk more about, because food is obviously essential, right? So we need to have it. And one way that you can create independence, and that's one thing that cooperative economics is all about, creating independence, is by having control over your food, growing your food, when you can buy food, when you have to buy food, right? Barter system, I feel like, is a very traditional way people think of cooperative economics, or what comes to mind most often when I say cooperative economics. And yes, bartering is fine, but I think bartering makes sense when it has a lot of structure around it, right? And I think that's something that a lot of people are missing, and turns a lot of people off from bartering, because they just think it's like, okay, I have bread, you have tools, let's exchange services, let's exchange, right? And it's like, okay, sure. Can it work like that? Yes. But also, if we have like partnership agreements, limited partnerships, general partnerships, right? Like, there are different ways to get contracts, legally structure bartering that can be advantageous for businesses, for people, or even in the small scale. Maybe you don't even want to take it all the way up to business, so to speak, or legal, so to speak, right? But maybe it just looks like, hey, I'll cut your grass next weekend if you babysit my kids on Wednesday night, like, right? Like, it's like, I think we overcomplicate it a lot, and it doesn't have to be complicated. I think most of the time people are just missing out on the talking, on the asking, on knowing what skills or what things are you willing to do for me, and what things am I willing to do for you, without expecting money in return. And that can be real. Okay, donor advised fund. So I actually found out that through my amazing company, Primerica, I can help people invest in donor advised funds, which I was like, oh, really? Wow. So donor advised funds are really cool because basically what it is you as someone who is making a charitable donation, but to a fund where the money is invested, and you get to choose how donor advised funds how they're distributed, or it might be they're managed by a fund manager, but people who are part of the fund are able to you know have say in how the funds are distributed, and obviously they go to charitable causes. So I think that is really great because I again want to talk to people about how they can save and invest money but also make it ethical, contribute to causes that are important to them, and you can do that through a donor advised fund. Another one is a joint brokerage account. So let's say, like I was saying earlier, you have a group of people, you guys want to work together. Maybe you want to buy an investment property together or some land together, right? That's something that interests me. You can have a joint brokerage account, which is basically an investment account where more than one person can contribute, withdraw. Obviously, it's a lot more to that. That was a very simple explanation, but again, a lot of people don't know about that, right? So a lot of people don't even know about brokerage accounts, right? So a brokerage account is just basically an account where you can invest money through a broker. And I'm a junior broker, but basically, a joint brokerage account is having more than one person. So again, imagine you and a group of people working together. Not only are y'all just making money, but now y'all are investing money together. We love to see that, right? We love to see that. Last few things here that we have talked about so far, guys. One is B corporations. That's just another way. Let's say you want to invest money with a company that you know is doing good things in the world. B corporations, in order for a corporation to receive this recognition, this qualification, they have to be able to go through a lot of different qualifications and stipulations in order to, let's say, get certified and earn this badge. So maybe you're someone who says, you know what, I want to invest my money with companies that are B corporations. Great, you can do that, whether it's buying stock, whatever, right? Like, but I'm showing you because some people will say, oh, well, I don't want to invest money because all my money just ends up going to like Peter Thiel and these evil people that I don't want to support them. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that. BlackRock and Vanguard and all these evil organizations and companies, and it goes to the military industrial complex. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. I feel you. Yes. But you could also choose to invest through some of these options right here, like a B corporation. And then community investment fund, basically just a fund that is maybe based in a community, a certain county, a certain city, and they are contributing to things that are making their city, their county better, like parks or different things, right? So being able to do something like that, or socially responsible investing, which is the last one. And basically these three are just looking for companies that represent, think charitable and good initiatives that improve the communities that they are a part of, which is good because most corporations do not. Most corporations these days are just beholden to their shareholders, which sucks. So now, finally, that I am done yapping about what we have talked about so far in Financial Literacy Month, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is income. Okay, yes, income, making money, 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 right? And I'm a money coach. So of course we're gonna talk about how we gonna make some more money. Okay, so one, how to protect and preserve more of your income, more of the income you earn currently and your future income potential. That's important because a lot of people will think about, okay, yeah, like how do I make more money today? But also about what about your income earning potential in the future? Important to consider that as well. Two, we'll talk about how to expand and create new streams of income that supports your lifestyle and goals. So that's a big one because I think sometimes, especially in the era we're in now, People are just like, let me just go get a job. I'll just go get a job because I need a job. Which, yes, I get it. We all need to earn money, unfortunately, the status that we're in right now. We need to live with money, so I get it. But we're really going to talk about and break down like, okay, not just a job, but let's structure my money income flow so that it actually works and serves me rather than me just having to work for money. And then lastly, number 3, we are going to talk about how to work with a group to implement cooperative economics and expand your income together, which, like I just yapped about, something that is very important to me. So let's get into it. Here's the truth, guys. It's not that you're bad with money. You probably just aren't making enough. Now, let me caveat and say, now, some people out there, I don't even want to say bad with money. You just have bad habits. Nobody is inherently bad with money because money is a tool, right? So it's only going to amplify more of what you are, right? When we see rich billionaires who are very philanthropic and doing things in the community and giving back, okay, money has amplified more of what's in their heart and they want to give back. When we see people who are rich and trying to scrape for every penny and firing people and they're greedy, guess what? It's amplifying more of whatever was inside. So the truth is, you are not bad with money. You just probably are not making enough money, okay? I want to rationalize things for you and keep it real. Because one thing about me, as a money coach, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Well, actually, I'm not going to say I sugarcoat, but I'm not harsh. Okay, I'm never going to be mean or harsh because that's just not who I am. But I do want to keep it real with y'all because we should keep it real. And we're going to look at some charts and some numbers in the next slide that's really going to make it real. Next, cost of living is rising quickly and wages are not keeping up. We know this, we feel this in our pockets. Again, we're going to see some math that proves this to be true. Essentials are becoming more expensive and forcing people to go without things that they really need. It is really disheartening to me when I see people on the internet, and again, the algorithm be algorithming, but a lot of my feed talks about people who are, maybe they're working 2 and 3 jobs already. It's not that people aren't working. People are busting their butts, really hustling out here. The problem is not only are essentials becoming more expensive, and we're going to talk about prices a little bit. I don't want to rant too much, but I'm going to wait till we get there. But at the same time, wages are not keeping up. This is a very dangerous situation and a slippery slope. The days of relying on one job till retirement are over. I don't know if I needed to do that wake-up call for anybody, but let me let you know. If you're a college senior right now, if you're a young person who maybe you just got your first job, maybe you just landed your dream job, I'm going to let you know. The days of relying on just one job till you retire, out the window, gone, okay? And we're going to talk about more about why that is, but basically because they're not loyal. To summarize, TLDR, the jobs aren't loyal, so that's why. Okay, next, employers want the labor force to work till they die and have no interest in paying you enough to become wealthy. Guess what? If employers had any interest in you actually becoming wealthy, do you think we would see so many people struggling today? No, we would see people becoming financially wealthy, and what happens? Most people are like, well, why would I work? If I woke up tomorrow and I had $8 million in my bank account, why would I continue to work? I probably wouldn't. Now, I would because I love what I do. I love being a money coach, right? And I think it would also free up a lot of people to do more creative things, do more of what they love, which I think is also needed and essential in this world. But the truth is, employers have no interest in making you wealthy. They have no interest in teaching you how to become the CEO because then you are their competition. They don't want to compete with you. They don't want you getting rich. No, they want want you to say, good little employee who clocks in every Monday through Friday. And I know because I used to be one. I'm not an employee anymore. And that's not a flex. I'm not where I want to be with my business either, right? I'm still growing in that aspect as well. But this is a reality that I think some people need to become more aware of, because some people really try hard to climb that corporate ladder. And then what happens is, unfortunately, they get pretty high on the ladder or to the top, and they start looking around and they're like, wait, I don't have any time freedom. I don't really like this anymore. I'm not passionate about what I do. Or maybe I hit a ceiling. There's no more expansion or growth opportunity for me here, right? That's what most often happens. So I want to free you from having to climb all the way to the top of that corporate ladder just to realize that it's not for you, or that, even if you did become wealthy, it's not all it's cracked up to be, right? So employers, they just have no interest in that. And lastly, job uncertainty is on the rise, and corporations prove their only loyalty is to profits and shareholders. Guys, I kind of said this earlier, but this is just so true. Especially when we talk about, and let me go ahead to this next slide right here. When we talk about prices of things, like, I didn't include it in this presentation because I didn't want to make it really, really long, but it's already really long. But one thing that we are seeing, which is very dangerous territory for our country, and again, I'm not here to fearmonger, but we're seeing corporations make decisions to raise prices or sustain raised prices that were raised due to things like tariffs, due to inflation, due to COVID, due to all these excuses that they had as to why they needed to increase and rack up the prices. And now there's a lot of evidence that's showing that actually they didn't really need to rack that up. It was just them being greedy because they knew that people would pay it, because they know that these are essential services and people need them, and that they're willing to pay it. We're especially seeing this right now when it comes to utility bills. Utility bills across the country. I'm currently in North Carolina. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been hearing about Duke Energy. Duke Energy, I'm looking at you, right? Like, it is happening. I know BGE is happening. I know out there in California, I forgot what they call it out in California, but I know it's happening out there, right? So what we're seeing is they're hiking up these prices, and they'll blame it on something like, oh, it's the data centers. Oh, it's just you using more utility. Oh, it's because our grid is weak and now it costs more to deliver power. No, it's because y'all greedy. It's because these CEOs is greedy. I'm sorry, let me move aside. This is what I be teaching y'all not to do, okay? Don't get worked up. Don't let them get to you. But the truth is, I want to tell you guys that, because sometimes we look at it and say, well, we try to justify, we try to reason, like, well, it must be that, I don't know, 5G, so now it's just more expensive, or it's more expensive for groceries because farmers are struggling, right? Like, no, they give us all these BS excuses, and the reality is that corporate profits. Let me show you some of these charts. This chart over here is from the Federal Reserve, Federal Reserve data, and it's looking at from 1940 all the way till 2020. The red line here is corporate profits. The blue line here is wages. I forgot what this acronym stands for, but basically wages, right? Look at how low wages is and how much it has not increased over time. But especially look at this red line jumping since basically the 2000s all the way through the 2020s. Corporate profits are going through the roof. That's why we're hearing things like the president say, but the Dow, but the S&P 500, they're hitting all-time records. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's great for someone who has 5 and 6 figures already invested. But for the average person who is not investing money, which if you're not investing money, that's why you need to be, because they over there hooting and hollering and excited about the market, the Dow, the S&P. Meanwhile, look at what wages is doing. Wages ain't doing nothing. It's going down. It's struggling. And then some of these other charts over here, essential services costs grew nearly 170% since 2000. That's crazy. And it's crazy because 2000 really don't feel like that long ago. Now, I'm a millennial, so yeah, I know. Okay, I know. It was a long time ago. But it really, like, the way that this just does not make sense. This line right here is wages. This is essential services. We also see food, we see inflation, tradable goods. It explains down there what tradable goods is, but basically manufacturing, right? But what we're seeing here is that essential services has been on a steady incline, up, and there is a widening gap between essential services and wages. And that is dangerous because it's essential. We're not talking about the nice to have, the vacation, the new clothes. We're talking about groceries and gas. And then up here, basically this chart right here is just showing that companies will pump the brakes on wages and compensation. They'll be like, oh no. We can't give you more employee match in your 401k. Oh no. You want a promotion? Okay, we'll give you 75 cents more on the hour, right? And they want you to get excited about that. Meanwhile, they're having over 100, 200% increase in their profits. The math ain't mathing is the summary of this slide. And what it's telling you is that maybe, just maybe, not for everybody, some people just, again, have some bad habits, but maybe it's not that you're bad with money or that you just can't save or that it seems like every time you try to invest some money or put something in your emergency savings, you end up spending it, you end up taking it right back out. Maybe it's because wages are low and essential services are high. And you know where actually this leads? We actually have historical evidence of where this path leads to. We can actually see down the road and see what is unfortunately potentially coming. And what it looks like is stagflation. And actually, we saw this in the 70s. And as I was researching this, it was actually remarkable to me, the parallels between what was going on in the 70s and what's going on right now. They were also experiencing a war or the end of a war that a whole bunch of people didn't really want to be a part of and was costing our country a whole bunch of money. And we were saying we won, and it was really a whole bunch of people getting hurt and coming back wounded and not taken care of. And not only that, inflation was at an all-time high, unemployment was low, and grocery, and yet you can see some of the signs these people are holding up. And just so this society is just, these people are alive today. These are some people's grandmamas. These are some people's parents. Okay, this was not that long ago. The black and white will fool you, but this was not that long ago. And what they're saying is food prices are high. Roll back food prices. Are people not saying that today? Are we not saying the same thing today? Right? So what is stagflation? Stagflation is, again, it's from Investopedia, really great resource. Again, don't represent them, don't have no affiliation with them, but I love their infographics. I love their the way they lay out information, very straight to the point. Reputable source. Okay, what is stagflation? An economic cycle characterized by slow growth, meaning in the economy, slow production, high unemployment rate, and high inflation. Right? So when the GDP is down, unemployment is up, demand is down, usually that's just a recession. But when inflation is also going up, which again, what is inflation? It means that your dollar has less buying power. So even if you do everything right, if you are somebody who says, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure I put some money aside. I'm going to make sure I save for a rainy day. I'm going to go put it in a jar. No. You want to know why? Because inflation on the rise is reducing your dollar's buying power day by day as it is collecting dust in that jar. You can think of your checking and savings account a little bit better than the jar. The jar is getting 0%. Your bank account might be getting a 0 point something percent, but it's still zero, still starts with a zero, right? So again, why is investing so important? Because at the very least, we got to beat inflation. Otherwise, inflation is stealing your income. It's stealing. Okay. So stagflation, and I'm not saying we're currently in stagflation. I'm not an economist. I don't got no crystal ball. I'm not predicting anything. I'm not fear-mongering anything. But what I'm saying is we should learn from history. And what history shows us is that when these certain set of economic factors are in play, there is pending more catastrophe. I'm gonna say it like that. There is more to come. And I do believe, this is not, again, not me fear-mongering, but I do believe that when we look at our economy, unfortunately, as we continue to go through 2026, it's going to get worse. I do believe it's going to get worse before it gets better. And of course, we all want it to get better, but I think just we need to take off the rosy colored glasses and face reality and prepare ourselves. So what can we do? Right? You might be looking at that like, sheesh, that sucks. 70s, that wasn't that long ago. Well, what do? We focus on the things that we can control. What are the things that we can control? We protect our income, expand our income, having income reserves, having a financial planning strategy. We already talked about this, utilizing the right accounts and financial tools at the right time, and consistently acquiring new skills and knowledge, especially financial literacy, because we're in a climate where financial literacy, financial topics, financial instruments, right? Crypto was not a thing, like what, 10 years, not 10 years ago, 2016? Maybe 10 years ago, right? When was crypto come out? When did Bitcoin come out? Like 2016-ish, right? 2010s. But what I'm trying to say is all of this is still relatively new. Even a mutual fund, right? Even a Roth IRA. All of these things are within the last like 30 to 50 years. These things are new. So we have to consistently be learning and acquiring new skills and knowledge. Now, income protection is one of the most important things, because if your income stops, your financial house falls apart. Let's talk about it, guys. What do you mean by income protection? There might be somebody watching this right now, like, okay, Jasmine, yeah, that sounds good, right? But what do you mean by income protection? Let me tell you, because there's a lot of different ways that you can protect your income, your ability to make income, the income you already have, protect your assets. There's a lot of different ways to do that. The most, let's say the topics we're going to discuss today, the categories we're going to discuss today is through insurance, reserves, and asset protection. Let's start with insurance. The reason why we have insurance is because it is able to reduce risk. And that is what you want when we're talking about income. Because again, like we said, if the income stops, think about it. You might have a savings goal. You might have dependents, for people who depend on you to bring a check home every month, to make sure the lights are on, to make sure the clothes are on their backs, the food gets fed, right? If any of that stops, we need to be able to replace that income in the household. It's about replacing what is lost, right? So with insurance, we have life insurance. I'm not a health insurance agent, but health insurance is another form of insurance. disability insurance, income protection insurance, business income protection, and general liability insurance. So we're actually going to talk about life insurance on the next slide, so I'm not going to go in on that one. Health insurance, again, not a health insurance agent, but very important to have because think about it, the rising cost of healthcare and the rising cost of later in life healthcare. One thing I didn't include here, but is I think it's called long-term disability or later in life care, right? This is something that can just wreak havoc on your retirement fund if you haven't taken the time to make sure that you have the right protection in place to, again, protect you from risk. Disability insurance, if you fall and break your leg, you can't go back to work for 6 weeks. Actually, let's say 7 months. Break your Achilles. I don't know. I'm making up stuff. You can't go back to work for a certain period of time. Disability insurance is able to help you replace that income because bills still gotta be paid, right? So that's where disability insurance comes in. Income protection insurance and business income protection. I'm gonna put those two together, but basically, this is another form of replacing your paycheck if you could no longer work, but outside of disability, right? So just another form of protection. And then general liability insurance, this could be for, especially for a business owner, right? But all of these are just different forms of protection. You pay a monthly premium. If nothing ever happens, then you're not getting anything back. But if something does happen, I have this protection in place so that I can replace what is lost, or I can maintain some form of financial stability as I am recovering from the loss. Reserves, right? We have talked at length about emergency savings, why emergency savings is important. I think a lot of people get that I don't need to belabor that point. But one thing I think we're going to be talking today a lot about starting your own business, becoming an entrepreneur, being your own boss. Something that you should consider if you are in that case is personal emergency savings and separating it from your business emergency savings, because we all can think of the last personal emergency that we might have experienced. And yes, we were able to pull money from our maybe personal savings, or maybe we had to use credit. But we all know that business emergencies can come up too, right? And prayerfully, we never have to experience it. But in case we do, we have the reserves, 2 separate spaces. We're not commingling funds, which we're also going to talk about a little bit later. HSA, FSA, HRA, these are all different types of health medical savings accounts. HSA is health savings account, FSA is family savings account, I believe, and HRA is health reimbursement account. But basically, all 3 of these are specific types of savings accounts for medical expenses that can also be an investment. Specifically, the HSA can be a triple tax advantage account, which means it's pre-tax money going in, tax-free growth, and tax-free coming out. Amazing feature there. A lot of people don't know about that. But the caveat with these types of accounts is that oftentimes they require you to have a specific type of health insurance plan. So again, I am not health insurance licensed. Please talk to a health insurance licensed professional about that. Don't be asking me no questions about that. But I'm bringing it up because this is something that I think not enough people know about, and a space where rather than me, having to dip into other savings accounts or use a credit card, I can use these types of accounts. And again, using the right tools in the right way at the right time. Emergencies, and then we have specific designated emergency savings accounts for specific categories, right? So if you have kids, we all know kids be having emergencies, right? They know it's always something. So maybe you have an emergency savings account for your kids. If you have an older car, definitely going to recommend that you have an emergency savings account for your car, because you always know once you start fixing one thing, something else break down, and then you got to get something else fixed. right? Maybe if you just got a house or you got a fixer-upper house, or if you didn't get a fixer-upper house, no matter what it is, because houses always have hidden costs that you underestimate, right, or didn't expect. So for your house and for your travel, emergency savings for travel, again, very important, because you don't want to be stuck somewhere out the country in a different place in a foreign land and you don't have money, or you know are in a situation where money could have expedited or resolved the situation. Having that emergency savings, very important. And then lastly, maybe in reserves category, you have a family or group savings account. And we talked about that in our savings and investment live stream. You can go back and watch more information about that. But this is reserves category. And again, the more you have reserves, we're going to talk about this, but reserves, the more you build up this, you might need less coverage, right? We're going to talk about that. And then we have asset protection. So making sure you have proper legal titling of assets. So whether that's your business, or maybe you have a trust, or maybe you have different accounts that you want to make sure are protected in certain ways by making sure you're titling them the right way. Very important. Another one, trust in a will, right? We just talked about a trust. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people are hearing more about trust and they're getting more excited about them, which I don't want to knock it. I think that's amazing that more people are interested in trust. But I think not enough people think about the fact that you need to have assets to put in the trust. Okay, right? Like you gotta have something to put in it. All right. A lot of people just want to rush and try and go get a trust. Nothing wrong with that, but trusts are not, well, they are financially expensive products. They're usually a couple $1,000s. They require you to work with a attorney because they are legal agreements, right? And they require you to, think through some questions, some what if scenarios. But a trust and a will, as well, because it doesn't make sense for you to have a whole bunch of money, leave a whole bunch of things behind, and then leave your family to argue over what's theirs and what's not theirs, right? Tax sheltering strategies. Now, tax harvesting is illegal, but tax sheltering is legal. So what is tax sheltering? That means maybe donating money so that you could get a tax write-off, or putting money in specific investment accounts so that you could get deductions, right? This is a form of, or even different types of investments will give you different tax advantages. This is a form of protecting your income by putting your money in places that it is less exposed to tax, because we already get taxed enough in this country. We get taxed multiple times in multiple ways throughout our lives. So yeah, don't get me started on that. Designated beneficiary accounts. So for example, a Roth IRA typically comes with a designated beneficiary, which means it does not have to go through probate. Maybe it's something that you don't have to put in a trust because it has a designated beneficiary, which means after I pass away, it has somebody's name on it. It's going to go to that person, right? The more designated beneficiary accounts, or just designated beneficiaries that you have, the better. Because when it comes to getting older or like end of life stuff, it's very hard to grieve the loss of someone or deal with somebody who is in the process of going over to the other side and financially stressed about things. So the more that you can take care of these things, have the plan already laid out, is going to be better for you, and it's going to be better for your dependents. And then lastly, legal protection. Very underrated, very important part of income protection, making sure that you don't want to wait until you need a lawyer to get a lawyer because it's more expensive. Better to just have one on deck. So now, again, let's talk a little bit deeper about life insurance. And one thing you know about me, I am with Primerica, and Primerica has its own life insurance company. We are very widely known for life insurance, and it is a very important thing. And I'm going to read some of these statistics to you. So roughly 60% of Americans have some sort of life insurance policy. This might include the people who have group life, which means life insurance through your job. If you only have life insurance through your job, you need to make sure that you're getting one outside of the job as well. Because we just talked about how these jobs are not loyal. We know that you don't want to work at that job until the day you die. So better for you to have a policy outside the job that you can own, control, take with you if you ever leave the job. And then also that 60% could include people who have the wrong type of life insurance. So we have a very specific philosophy on how we educate people about life insurance. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But basically, we truly believe that life insurance is meant for your beneficiaries when you are no longer here. A lot of people get confused and think life insurance is something that you're supposed to benefit from or utilize while you are living, when really the whole purpose is once you are dead and gone, it is meant to replace your income, right? So making sure that you have just pure insurance, which is term insurance, that is what's going to not only keep it most affordable, but you're able to get what you need, and you're able to make sure that once I am gone, my family is getting what I paid for, right? Not a whole bunch of bells and whistles and a whole bunch of extra added stuff. Next bullet point, 33% of Americans believe they are underinsured. Yeah, a lot of people are. A lot of people, especially if you're just dependent on that group life policy, typically that's a fraction percentage or sometimes 2x, 3x, 5x times your salary, or maybe just 1 year's worth of salary. And especially if you have young children, it's not enough. And not to mention, we're experiencing right now cost of living going up. Think of how expensive rent is today, how expensive it was 5 years ago, and then think about how much more expensive it could be 5 years from now. So why wouldn't you leave behind some money to make sure that whoever was dependent on my income, they don't have to worry about that rising cost of living because I've left more than enough. Next, 50% of people said they'd buy more life insurance if it didn't require a medical exam. A lot of people are scared of that medical exam. Now, I will tell you guys, through our company, we do offer a type of policy that does not require a medical. However, what most people don't know is that they gonna find it anyway, okay? There is a huge database that life insurance companies, as well as doctors and all types of medical involved people use to search your medical background history, okay? So if you're scared of the medical exam, don't let that deter you. Better to apply and find out the results and just live with that rather than wait and never apply and miss out on the opportunity, because we never know when we're going to take our last breath. Better to have and not need than to need and not have, right? Next, there are approximately 267 million life insurance policies in the United States. Our company has quite a few million of those, and we're still looking to help more people. 44% of Americans view life insurance as income replacement for their family should anything happen to them. Yeah, that's the whole point. That percentage needs to be higher. Because again, life insurance is not something that you are supposed to be using as an investment to take money out, loan money to yourself, be your own bank. Actually, there are class action lawsuits for that statement right there. Anybody telling you be your own bank? No, that's not a thing. You can save money at a bank, you can invest, but not be your own bank, okay? Roughly 40% of Americans will leave behind financial burden to loved ones in the event of their death. Why? Because most people are underinsured or have no insurance at all, or they underestimate how much it actually costs for the funeral, to replace their income, to keep the lights on, to keep the bills paid, right? If I'm gonna save that point. That was just about to say. Next, over half of Americans think the cost of term life insurance policy is 3 times greater than the actual cost. Term life insurance is another way to say it, is pure insurance, meaning it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It don't have no cash value. It don't have no extra stuff. It's literally, if I pass away, I pay this premium so that my family can receive X amount in a check once I'm gone. So if you are one of the people who might be thinking that the cost is higher than it actually is, again, better for you to apply and live with the results than try and hold off and wait and see. And another thing I want to tell you about the cost of life insurance, the cost of life insurance is based off three things. Your health, right? We talked about they're going to look through your medical background history, whether you do the medical exam or not, your age, and your habits. Your health naturally only declines the older we get, right? The older we get, unless you're, even if you're doing all the right things, eating right, working out, all the good stuff, right? The body just naturally degrades. We get older year by year. So what does that mean? The longer you wait, the more expensive life insurance is. So better, I'm gonna say this one more time, better to apply and live with the results than wait or try and, I don't even know, just wait and never get it. Wait until it's too late. Because too late means you dead and gone, basically. Or you're uninsurable. That's another thing. Some people wait and then come to find out you went to a doctor's appointment or you didn't even know, you do the medical exam, come to find out it's something wrong. When you could have applied when you were 10, 5, 20 years ago, and it could have been much more affordable and you ain't have no medical stuff going on. So if you're young, best time to apply is now. Even if you're old, best time to apply is now. Let me talk about the theory of decreasing responsibility. This is something that our company came up with, and I think it makes a lot of sense because, and I remember the first time someone explained this to me, and I was like, that does make a lot of sense. Most life insurance companies want you to pay for your whole life. They actually have policies out there called whole life policies. And that is not how life actually works. That doesn't make sense because how life actually works is when you're on the younger side of life, you have more financial responsibilities, right? Your responsibilities are up here with this green line, but you're young. Maybe you're just getting started in your career. Maybe you just had a kid. Maybe you haven't landed your dream job yet, right? So the money is now here, but you have a lot of responsibilities. You have young children, you have high debt. Maybe you just got a house, you got a house mortgage. What does that mean? Your income is required to come home every night. The loss of income would be devastating, right? In this scenario, we got a mom and a dad and a kid. If one of these parents did not come home one night, the kid is still there. The bills are still there. Therefore, the gap in between their responsibilities and their income is their need for life insurance. Life insurance protects you to replace the income if one of these two dies too soon. However, we know this life situation, this is a snapshot. This is not forever, right? As we go through life, hopefully you're saving and investing money. Also, your children grow up, they leave the house, some of them. Your debt is paid down / paid off. It should be, hopefully. You're not acquiring more debt. If you do, you pay it down. Your mortgage should be paid off, prayerfully. I mean, I remember I saw a headline, I think it was close towards the end of last year, about 50-year mortgage. That's outrageous. Okay, hopefully you're not in a 50-year mortgage. Your mortgage should be paid off. Therefore, when you're in retirement, what is the one thing that you need? Income. You got anybody at your job, or you ever seen somebody doing DoorDash or whatever, and they like 60 or 70 or 80 years old? I'm not bashing them, but the reality is the reason why they're still working is probably not because they want to. It's probably because they have to. And they probably have to because somebody did not sit down with them on this side of life, or they didn't watch my live stream like you are right now and told them, you need to invest some money. Because when you get to this side of life, what is the biggest fear? The biggest fear is living too long, right? My responsibilities are down because my children are grown, debt is paid off, mortgage is paid off. My responsibilities are now down here. But what's up here is my need for money. And not just my need for money, but my money needs to be protected. It needs to last me through retirement. And we're seeing people live longer. I think in my last live stream, we looked at it, I think it was like men live to like 70 something and women live to like 82, right? That if you retiring at the average age of 60 something, 65, 67, that's a good 20 something years, 15, 20 years that you need this money to last you. So what does this mean? We need protection for the years while we are growing and accumulating wealth, but this is only a period of time. And then eventually, we need income. We need to make sure that we can live off of that money. And guess what? You know me, which is amazing because I can help you do both. I can help you to make sure that you're protected in the period of time while you are growing and accumulating wealth. But then we get to a period. Our ultimate goal, my ultimate goal for all of my clients is to help them become financially independent, which could also mean, it's not everyone's scenario, but it could also mean that you are self-insured. What does that mean? That means that I have enough assets, enough income, enough money that if I were to pass away, I no longer have a need for insurance because I have investments, because I have assets, because I have accounts that are set up that if something were to happen to me, my family gonna be good, the house paid off, all my stuff is good, I have assets. There is no life insurance company out there that's teaching you how to no longer need life insurance, but we are. Last thing I want to point out on this slide, I think I was thinking about either doing a different video or a live stream about this. And if you're watching, maybe you can, if you would be interested in seeing something like this, you can let me know in the comments. But I was thinking about doing a video specifically dedicated to the unfortunate uptick that we're seeing right now in femicide, domestic abuse, female homicide, and I'm not a scientist. I haven't done the study. I haven't done the work, but I believe there is a strong correlation between financial stress, particularly in men, experiencing unemployment or experiencing having to juggle bills and not being able to get ahead or provide for their family as they should, unfortunately often results in domestic abuse situations. And I mean, we have seen in at least the last 2 months about 5 to 7 stories of men, loved ones, who are attacking, killing, and completely destroying the lives of the women that they say to love and their children. I mean, the story of the man who killed his like 7 kids and the mom, the story of Ashley Janae, who was a very popular influencer, who was killed in Zanzibar, the story of the, I forgot, he was like some sort of government official or representative in Virginia who killed his wife and then himself, right? We are seeing a crazy uptick right now in women being attacked and killed, and that really hurts my heart. It makes me emotional even right now talking about it. But my response to that is educating women on making sure that they are protected, financially protected, making sure they are not stuck in a financially abusive or financially dependent situation, but also having the correct life insurance in place that if it were to come to that, God forbid, but if it were to come to that, that your babies are still going to be taken care of. And I'm getting emotional right now, even trying to talk about it, but I did come across a study that was actually came out the UK, which is why I feel like we need to be funding this science. Like, women researchers, please, I need y'all to get on this. Our statisticians need y'all to get on this. But this study I found is from the UK 2026 data. And it found that over 50% of, I forgot what this acronym stood for, but it's basically domestic abuse situations featured evidence of economic abuse by a current or ex-partner. Guys, it's and I don't even want to just put it on men, because I believe it can just be any domestic partnership situation. But I'm telling you, the financial stress that arises can make people act irrational. And we just need to protect ourselves as women, as people, on all fronts. And then this other one, every 19 days, a victim of economic abuse loses her life. That's crazy, right? So next, take a breath. Whew. I'm a big empath, guys. If you don't know that about me, I'm a big empath. I'm a feelings girl. Okay, so what's the takeaways from income protection? A few things to consider as we discuss income protection and expansion. Here's the truth. If it doesn't make sense to accumulate a whole bunch of wealth and leave it all unprotected. That's why insurance and asset protection is important. We talked about the trust. We talked about will. We talked about having those designated beneficiary accounts, right? These are things that financially literate, financially prepared people do when they have a lot of assets. They don't just leave it willy-nilly. And if you are someone who you're speaking over your life that you will have much assets, you're going to make a whole bunch of money. Okay, great. Let's act like it. Let's be prepared for it. Let's be prepared to receive by making sure we have the right structures in place, right? Protections in place also. Next bullet point, if you have people who depend on your income, then protection in multiple streams of income is not just nice to have, it's essential, right? I already kind of gave that visual earlier of being in an elevator with one cord versus 6 cords. If you are in the elevator with your children, that's even more emphasis on, I need to make sure this is secure. And you just holding on to one string or standing on just one pillar and you're trying to balance it all, you might fall, okay, right? So it's important. It's not just a nice to have. It is literally essential. Think about this. If you and your dependents are juggling bills and struggling to keep up right now, think about how much more difficult that will become without you and your paycheck coming home. Right? Think about that. Like, if you are already looking at your bills, looking at you got more month than you got money, then you need to make sure that you have the right protection in place, that you have the right life insurance in place, that if your income was to stop, that is going to put your dependent in a very dire situation. And you can prevent that by thinking ahead and planning. Here's something that I think is really freeing. As your assets grow, the more as your assets grow, the more protection you need. That's not grammatically correct, but you get what I'm trying to say. You need more protection for your assets as your assets grow, right? Like, think of it. Maybe you're young, you're just getting started. You maybe just have a checking account, savings account, and maybe you got your Roth IRA, right? But then you get married, you get a house, you get a joint account, you get another retirement account, right? Like, the more things you introduce into your life that are important and valuable to you, that means you're going to need more insurance, right? And that makes sense because you want to protect it. However, but as your reserves grow, you can reduce your need for insurance and become self-insured. So like I was explaining earlier, right? Like, if, let's say I start off with, I'm just throwing numbers out here, $250,000 in life insurance, right? I do the calculations. I figure out, okay, to make sure that after I pass away, the house gets paid off, the car, the bills, yada, 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 right? I'm just making numbers up. And it all comes out to $250,000, right? But then I also save and invest money. I start a business. I, am able to double my income. And now I have accumulated in a investment account more than 250,000. Why do I need to keep paying for this life insurance policy? Now, in some situations where it might make sense, right? If it's a term policy, might as well pay it to the end of the term, right? Whatever. But the point is that you want to have enough reserves that you can reduce your reliance on insurance because you can protect yourself with your reserves. Last bullet point here, turn your L's into lessons. Be more prepared for next time. If you are someone that maybe you've been burned before by investing, maybe you made a bad investing decision or you lost a lot of money, or maybe you went through a legal battle or a job, didn't right, or what's the right word? Wrongfully terminated you, or you broke your leg and then you couldn't go back to work and then they fired you, right? These are all things that maybe you lost out on money at that time, and can some people could have an experience like that and say, dang, this sucks, I'm never going to do that again, and it makes them fearful and they don't want to try, right? But I want to encourage you, instead of looking at it as an L, or like investing is terrible, investing is scary, or whatever, turn it into a lesson that says, okay, maybe I lost some money through this legal battle, but my lesson from that is to make sure I have legal representation and be prepared for it, because there's inevitably always going to be a next time. Okay, loss, risk, they're inevitable. It's going to happen. Nobody goes through their whole life and never experiences loss, right? So better to be prepared. One of the best things you can do for your finances is diversify your income streams. I've already said this multiple times. Don't depend on just one stream of income to support your monthly budget, lifestyle, and goals. Stop looking at your 9-to-5 and thinking that's going to free you. It's not. You need more than one stream. Stop expecting the 9-to-5 to make you financially independent. They are paying you just enough to keep you coming back every Monday. We already talked about that. It's not in the CEO, the employer's interest to make you rich. So I want to free you from thinking this corporate job, if I make it to the top, I'm going to become financially independent. No. I mean, could it happen? Yes. Okay, I don't want to crush your dreams. Could it happen? Yes. But the truth is, more than likely, you're going to need more than one stream of income to get there. Don't allow any job to have their thumb on you and control your life. Reduce your reliance on a job that looks at you like just a number. The person that controls your income controls your financial freedom. One thing about me when I had a job is first of all, I was not a very good employee. I would constantly be late. I would be trying to leave early. I'd be taking an extra long lunch hour. I'm doing the bare minimum on the job, okay? But one thing about me is I did not like having to ask for time off, or I didn't like that if I didn't feel like working that day, I still had to get up and clock in, right? And there's always a time and place for that in your life. I don't want to give the impression like people should just come out the womb and start a business and everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows, right? Like that's not how it works. Sometimes you do just need a job that sucks and you just got to go clock in, and we're going to talk about that. But the truth is that sometimes people feel so stuck and they're like, well, what can I do? I need a paycheck. And while that's true, I want to help your mindset develop into a mindset that says, I don't want anyone to have this much control over my income, over how I live my life, over when I travel, on the things I can say yes and no to. I get to control that, not the job. Okay? And I want to empower you to say that. Detach your human worth from your net worth. I came up with that on my own, y'all. That is so good. Let me say it again. Detach your human worth from your net worth. Your labor capital does not define your value. Don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Your earning potential comes from your self-belief and self-development. Guys, this is a lesson I'm actually still personally learning. I'm still on my personal journey with this one. But I thought we could share nuggets and we're gonna learn together, baby. Because this one right here, especially when you're on your entrepreneurship journey, it is very easy to try and start to tie up your net worth with your human worth, your human value. And a lot of people will say, well, this is my job. Or someone will say, tell me about yourself. And you start with your job title. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? Like these are things that, yes, they can identify you and maybe you really love what you do and it really aligns with you and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to tell you that when it comes to your worth as a human, sorry, I'm trying to fix this lighting because I feel like my lighting up here is kind of weird. When it comes to your worth as a human, it is not tied to what you do for work. And there will be times, especially if you're considering starting your own business and your entrepreneurship journey, where people might not see it. The money might not be flowing yet. And you have to be willing to increase your self-belief, even when nobody else sees it, or so a smaller group of people than you would like see it, and continue to self-develop. That is what controls your income, not who you are, not whether people like you or not. It's you continuing to get better and better, your sales skills, your speech skills, all types of, improving your product, whatever that is. So I could talk about that point all day. But this is a big one, especially when we're talking about creating new streams of income. Sometimes people are so scared because it's all they've ever done. They are so tied to their job. And I want to free you from that. Next, you don't have to stay at a job or in a limiting career just because that's what you went to school for, or because that's what a loved one wants you to do, or because that's all you ever know. And that's kind of what I was just saying, guys. Like there are so many angst sometimes around starting something new or pivoting, or like, okay, I was previously known as working, I don't know, in the clothing business or retail, or I was serving food, and now you want me to talk about finances? Now you want me to buy something for your business? Like, weren't you just doing that, right? Like, all of those things play in your mind when we're talking about starting at something new or creating a new stream of income. But I really hope and pray that you can release that, because staying in a place just for the sake of somebody else's dream for you, or something that you've always thought you wanted to do, it can be very debilitating and a huge, you could be missing out on something that can be life-changing. I'm gonna say it like that. So just go for it. And then last couple points here, you can have different streams of income that require different activity levels to generate money, right? Some of them can be active, some of them can be passive. And I say that because sometimes I think people think, well, how can I start a business? I have no time right now. Or what time am I going to have to run a business? Okay, well, maybe you need to search for more passive things, right? Something that you can create one time and resell over and over and over without your active presence required to make money. There are some jobs that are going to be required for you to be present, actively doing it, clocked in to make the money. But there are also streams that are passive, right? And different streams can do different things for you. Also, you could use different streams to fund different goals, pay certain expenses, and accelerate savings. And I say that because sometimes we underestimate small things. And what I mean by that is, you could have something as small as, I have a notary business and it paid me $300 a month. And that $300 a month paid my car note. Or I have a social media business, faceless content, and it's just, inspirational quotes and B-roll footage. And, I created it some months ago and it just paid me $1,000 a month. And that goes into my investment in debt freedom fund, right? So I say that because you don't need one thing to do everything, to pay all your bills. It can look like having more than one stream that does different things, pays different bills, goes towards different goals. The last thing I want to emphasize on this screen is what's right here at the bottom. I want to help you have a perspective shift, a mind flip. When you have that one good job, think about how many years ago people were saying, I got my good government job. I'm from Maryland, DMV area has a lot of government workers, and a lot of people was like, oh, I got my good government job. I'm good. I got my good government job. I got my good job. I'm a CEO, I'm executive suite, all these security clearance, right? But here's the thing, that one job, if they lay you off, you are putting your whole financial well-being in the hands of that one job. That is very financially risky versus being like this person right here, they got multiple faucets on, dropping money into that person's pockets. If one of those faucets were to go off, will this person be upset? Maybe, but they're not going to be hurting because this person has financial security, which builds confidence. Right? And this is where we want to get you to. And a lot of people, we were brought up with that whole go to school, get good grades, graduate, you're going to get that job, and the job's going to offer you a pension or a 401k, and then you retire from that one job. Again, those days are gone. Now it looks like this. Let's talk about actually a form of what it looks like. So something that is, increasing in virality, people are talking about it all across the internet, is something called a portfolio career. And I want to encourage you to stop chasing the traditional job paths and embrace the portfolio career. So what is a portfolio career? Basically, it is rather than you just pursuing one job, you're taking your skills and the different things that you have done over the years, and you're doing consulting work. I have a couple examples here. It's kind of too small on my screen to read right here, but it basically combines various income streams and roles, and they're often tailored to be complementary services, right? So maybe it looks like you being a fractional executive or a consultant. It looks like you could be a creative freelancer, a hybrid specialist, an educator or coach. Right? It gives you flexibility and autonomy. It diversifies your risks. You have continuous learning, higher potential earnings. I have told multiple people this. Whatever you have been doing at your job for 5, 10, 15 years, whatever that one skill is, if you take it and go put it in the consulting world, you could probably 10x what you're making right now. Whatever your salary is, you could probably make more than that doing it in your own capacity. But a lot of time people are scared because they're like, well, where am I going to get clients? Is there a certain level of planning involved? Yes. But free yourself. You don't have to depend on the job. If you have the expertise and the skills and you could do it for the job, why can't you do it for yourself? Right? What are the skills to start a career? What are the steps to build a portfolio career? Identify your skills and interests, define your value proposition, start small, build an audience, then develop the products and services. So rather than having one main job, you have multiple streams of income. Rather than work for somebody else, you work for yourself. Rather than be office-based, you could be more remote. And rather than the repetitive daily grind, you can make every day look different, which for me, I love this kind of work. Right? And I think a lot more people, especially young people, are moving closer, more aligned with something like a portfolio career. Maybe you've never heard the term portfolio career before, but this is something that a lot more people are doing. And I think it's going to be the future of, rather than saying, oh, I've been at this job 5, 10 years. Oh, yeah, I worked with this job, in a capacity consulting work for a couple of years, but then I also did this, and I also worked with this big brand, and I was able to do this project. So it looks more like a portfolio rather than a resume, right? So what I want to say here again, when it comes to diversifying your streams of income, this right here is called the cash flow quadrant. We actually, our company utilizes this a lot, but we did not come up with it. It's actually from Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. He has a whole workbook. It's in that bottom corner over there. Workbook where he actually goes through the cash flow quadrant, but he also just mentions it in the book. But basically, what it is there are 4 ways to produce income legally in this country. And there's linear income, and then there's leveraged and residual income. Over here, we have linear. Over here, we have leveraged and residual. So when you have linear income, which most of America was trained, like literally when we look at our education system, it is training us to be employees. An employee has a job, they have no leverage, they make 5% of the wealth, and the amount of time they work depends on their income. Time is limited, right? It's only 24 hours in a day. We need at least 8 hours of sleep. Some people don't even get that. We need hours in the day to like be ourselves, be with our family, eat, sleep, drive, all the things, right? But when you are an employee, your time equals money. If you're not clocked in, you're not making money, right? So some people say, okay, well, you know what? I don't want to be an employee anymore. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to be self-employed, which self-employed is great, but a lot of people don't realize is that now you just own the job. So what do I mean by that? You still have no leverage, and the amount of time of active work determines your income. Think of people like a barber, a hairstylist, a nail tech, a lash tech, a doctor, a dentist. If they're not clocked in, if they don't have patients in their chair, if they don't have people walking through their business doors, they're not making money. So, do they have more control over how much they make? Yes. But you still just own the job. Rather than having a boss, you're your own boss, which, let me tell you, that comes with a whole bag of tricks as well, okay? Being your own boss. I'm my favorite boss and my worst boss because I let myself get away with anything, okay? So, this is great, but again, you have no leverage here. Your time is bound to how much you make. If you are not working, if you don't have butts and chairs, you're not making money. So let's go over here now to where we can leverage. Now we're a business owner. What's the difference between self-employed and business owner? A self-employed person, if they don't show up, they're not making money. A business owner has a system. What does system stand for? System stands for, this was coined by a broker in our business, James Henson. I don't know if you heard it from somewhere else, but I'm going to say it was from him. He says system, which can be an acronym, stands for saving yourself time, energy, and money. Think of how system is spelled, and we separated yourself. Saving yourself time, energy, and money. So what does that mean? A business owner, guess what? The CEO of McDonald's, he don't have to be at every McDonald's to get paid. The CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, you ain't never going to see him in a blue truck dropping off your box. But guess what? He get paid every time you place an order on Amazon. Why? Because they own a system. Whether they are there or not there, the money is flowing, right? That's the difference between a business owner and a self-employed person. It's a lot of people who think they are a business owner, who think that they have a business, when in reality, they are self-employed. Nothing wrong with that, but understand which box you currently live in. And again, with business owners, you own a system. This person owns 95% of the wealth. The other 95% that the employee doesn't own. The employee is making 5% of the wealth. The business owner makes 95% of the wealth. And we just talked about corporate profits and greed. It's probably more than that. But the income does not depend on their active work because people are working with you. No business owner works in isolation. Okay? You ain't never been to a McDonald's and been in there, and we got the same person taking the orders, flipping the patties, doing the fries, working the window, making the milkshakes, right? We ain't never seen nothing like that. And if we did, actually, I remember that one time it went viral where it was one guy, I think it was a Popeyes or something like that, and people really felt for her. I think they had a whole GoFundMe for her, a whole bunch of stuff, because that's crazy to think about. Crazy to think you would never think about an Amazon factory being run by one person. It's not possible, right? Because business owners work with people. Lastly, we have investor. Now you own investments. Now income does not depend on active work because it's your money making you money. Remember, if you never make your money work for you, you will always work for money. And what does that mean? How do I have my money work for me? That means your money is actually invested. So when your money is invested, that's putting your money to work. And guess what? Your money is the best employee because it never sleeps, never asks for a raise, it never gets tired. It just keep working. Long as the market's open, it's moving, grooving, right? So you have to ask yourself, which one of these quadrants are you currently in? Which one of them appeals most to you? I'm guessing, I know when I first saw this, I said, well, I like the business owner and investor. I don't want to talk about that, right? But here's, first let me ask you this question. Would you rather earn from the efforts of one person doing 100% of the work or 100 people doing 1% of effort or work, right? And again, this is the question for a business owner mindset. Because some people will say, I can't deal with people. I don't like working with people. I'm going to just do it all on my own. I'm going to just be myself, do it myself. I just going to do it myself. Which, okay, I get it. Nothing wrong with it. But just know that you are one person doing 100% of the work. Versus if I had 100 people, I'm not asking you to give me 100%. I'm not even asking you to give me 90%. I'm not even asking you to give me 50%. But if I had 100 people just giving me 1% of effort or 1% of work, what's that going to turn into? Everybody giving me their 1%. That's me getting 100%, right? So that is the thinking of a business owner. Now, when you look at this, it matters where you focus your time, energy, and effort, because these are three things that we cannot get back. You see this time progression, life is a flicker, right? I still can't believe I'm turning 32 this year. I still can't believe I'm like, how? How? Like, how is time going by so fast? How is life going by so fast? But here's the thing, if you spend all your time, all your energy, all your effort in being the best employee, you show up early, stay late, you clocked in, you gave them your best 20, 30 years of your life, all for them to wait until you're this close to retirement and lay you off. You have no control over your time or your money. Wouldn't you rather give your time, energy, and effort to these things where you can leverage your time, make your money, make money for you, have freedom? This is where you should be focusing your time, energy, and effort, because these are the things that we cannot get back. Money can make us more money. These things we cannot get back, okay? So here's an income hack. Earn both W-2 and 1099 income. I have a few visuals here. This is from Inuit QuickBooks. I am not affiliated with them, don't represent them, not suggesting you go with them, but I found these visuals very informative because a lot of people, maybe, you've had a business idea for a while, you've been thinking about it, you're like, well, I just don't know where to start. Here is some suggested places to start. Start by choosing a business name, choose a business structure, right? That matters. LLC, usually great to start. Maybe a sole proprietorship makes sense. Choose a business structure, write a business plan. Very important. Most people skip that step. register your business, make sure you pay all your fees, register your business with the state. Another step a lot of people skip. Set up a tax account. We're gonna talk about taxes. Yes, baby. Set up a tax account. My God, do not get caught. Uncle Sam is always gonna take something. He's always gonna take his. Okay? Uncle Sam always gonna take his. Get license and permits if they apply. Some businesses, like I don't know, hairstylist, a dentist, a lawyer, these require licenses and permits. Set up a business bank account. We're gonna talk more about that. Establish a budget. We're gonna talk more about that. Secure funding. You know, that could look like a business loan, but it could also look like a grant. It could also look like a angel investor. It could look like a group investment account, right? But secure funding. Learn about deductions, very important. That we want to kind of talk about how combining both W-2 and 1099 can help you have be exposed to a lot more deductions, and then set up automated processes. One thing about being a business owner is that sometimes you are so busy working in the business that you can't work on the business. So what I mean by that is, if again, you are one person doing 100% of the work, how are you ever going to get to the point where you're scaling and growing the business, or finding new clientele, finding new partnerships, finding new ways to grow the business, if you are stuck, bogged down by all the little daily processes of working in the business? So when you set up automated processes, that takes away more steps away from being in the business, so that you can actually work on growing it. And maybe it looks like you learning new skills, you improving your product, right? Setting up automated processes. So these few visuals right here are just talking about starting a business from home, some suggested home-based businesses: virtual assistant, freelance writer, digital marketing, creative designer, teacher or tutor. That's important, because I think a lot of times when people think I got to start a new business, they thinking they got to invent something, or have a product, or have a something. These are things you can do from the comfort of your home, working on other people's businesses or projects for other people. You ain't got to really come up with too much out of your own mind, and services that you can do pretty easily. If you've ever had a regular job, you could probably do one of the things on that list. Okay, so very easy to start businesses. And again, we're not expecting none of these businesses to make you rich. If it just bring in a couple $100s a month to help pay one more bill, great. That's really all we're looking for here. Some pros to starting a business from home: low overhead, you can be your own boss, eliminate the commute, home office deductions. Some cons is obviously jeopardizing your work-life balance, potentially bothering your neighbors, that's kind of funny, and then potential lack of space and inconsistent cash flow. I think inconsistent cash flow is the thing that scares people the most, but we're going to definitely talk about having a money ecosystem so that you're not dependent on just this one home-based business that you're starting. Next, in case you are confused on like what's 1099 versus W-2. 1099 basically, worker decides when, where, and how the work is done. The worker uses their own tools, expenses, and risk of profits or loss. They're temporary, they're project-based. This is not a core part of their business. The worker pays all the self-employment and income taxes, which is why you need to set up a tax savings account separately. And they do not typically receive benefits like health insurance or vacation. And again, it's because they're their own boss. Versus W-2, typically business controls when and where and how the work is done. The business provides the tools, expenses, profits, or loss risk, and there's ongoing permanent relationship. It's a core part of the business. The employer withholds income for Social Security, which, don't get me started on that, Medicare taxes, and receives health care, paid time off, and retirement. So basically, that is the difference between 1099 and W-2, in case you never heard it before. But again, the point of me saying that is that it could be advantageous for you to have both, because then there are more things that you can write off: independent contractor versus employee. These are and by the way, 1099 versus W-2 are the name of the tax forms, in case you never knew that, or in case you're like, Why do they call it that? That's because that's what the IRS calls the form, the tax form. Okay, so this is just a few more points about W-2 versus 1099. 1099 typically is not on the payroll. Contractor role typically pays more because you get to determine how much you get paid. Pays estimated taxes quarterly. Again, want to emphasize a great strategy to pay quarterly rather than wait until tax season. We're going to talk about what that looks like. May deduct business expenses, and it's not always eligible for unemployment, which that's why business income protection, as we discussed earlier, could be very advantageous for an entrepreneur. And then we have W-2, which is on payroll. Employee pays less taxes. That's because the employer is accepting some of the tax burden. The taxes withheld from the paycheck, you can't deduct as many expenses, and you're eligible for unemployment. So again, also, did you know, I found this very interesting when I first heard this fact, and I actually said, let me go verify this. I said, is this for real? What? Did you know that the average W-2 employee works the first 3 to 4 months for free because that's typically how much they owe in taxes? I could drop the mic right there. Meaning the first 3 to 4 months, yes, you're getting paid, but because you owe taxes, typically it is pretty much going to Uncle Sam. So that is more reason for you to have 1099 income, being able to deduct taxes, deduct more expenses, and even for that alone, that's a great reason. Even if it's just you saying first name, last name, LLC, .inc, whatever, right? And it's just you doing some consulting work once a quarter. That is a reason to do it for the tax. All right. So now, guys, we are getting to a point of where, okay, we understand important to have more than one stream of income, but how do we actually do this? How do we actually build it brick by brick? And this is how. First, we start with the stability job. This is a job that pays us just enough to take care of our monthly expenses. It doesn't need to be something you're passionate about. It just needs to be enough to pay the bills and hopefully offer some benefits that make it worth it, like, retirement, paid time off, health insurance, yada, yada. Even though sometimes that's hard to find these days, but hopefully has some benefits. And this is a specific calculation to make it unemotional and a straightforward decision, right? So if I just do my calculations and I find my monthly expenses requiring me to make $3,200 a month, I'm not about to look at the job that's going to pay me $15 an hour. I can take the emotional part out of that decision. I can make an intelligent decision and say, I need to find a job that's offering me pay between this and this range because I know what my monthly bills are. I know how much I need to be bringing in. And even if I combined it with my other streams of income, I know just my stability bills, just the bare minimums, will at least be covered by this one job. Right? That's where most people need to start. And I think this is freeing because, again, I don't have to look at this job as my end all be all, like, oh, please, I hope I get a promotion. I hope I can stay here until retirement. I don't have to look at it like that because I can say in my mind, this is just my stability job that's just helping me pay the bills while I'm building what I'm building here, right? Which, let's go to the next one, which is create and produce. This should be something that you're actually passionate about. It comes easy to you, or you have lots of work experience in that field. You can therefore produce something of your own in which you have intellectual property rights, and you can resell this creation to make passive income. So again, let's say you have been a front desk employee for a while, or a secretary, or a receptionist. And you might look at that job experience and say, well, what do I have with this? Like, what can I do with this? You know how to organize files. You know how to maybe type up a good email. Maybe you know how to, standardize certain things, right? There are certain skills that you, because you have been doing this for a while, that you could turn around and say, let me create top 10 guide for every receptionist just getting started on the job. Now I'm creating a coaching ebook that I can post it up on Amazon and resell this for years and years to come. It does not require me actively being present, being there to make the money. I can just resell this. I have intellectual property rights, which again, that comes with the legal protection that we talked about earlier, making sure that I'm not just creating things and putting it out there in the world, that I have protections around people copying things from me, right, or taking things from me. This is something that we create. And I think, as I said earlier, we are moving more to an economy where people are focused on what can I create? Like, if all my bills were taken care of, if money was no object for me, what would I do? What is my passion? What is the thing that I would create in this world? And I think that's a beautiful space for humans and just society to be in. And I think we need more people to be in that place, because there's a message in you. There's a message in everyone somewhere that they have a story or experience to tell. And let me also add a point there. Some people will say, oh, but the market is just so oversaturated. Like, everybody's already doing this. Everybody's already a content creator doing a day in the life, whatever. Why would mine be any different? No, because there's somebody who can relate to exactly what it is that you do and the way that you do it and the way that you say it. I, as a money coach, could be saying the same thing that 50,000 of the 50,000, I don't know why I said 50,000, 50,000 other money coaches could also be saying the same thing. But because maybe we've had a past experience, or you know who I am or whatever, it lands differently when I say it, right? So create the thing, whatever it is, but it's important. I believe it is important to your human purpose to not just create, but let's also go to this next one, which is your purpose and your calling. This might be more service-based or a more of a active business stream of income, but you are so passionate about this activity that you would do it even if you weren't paid for it. It's something that is soul-filling, and part of leaving your legacy in the world. Give me a second, y'all. Get my little drink. Okay. Again, I truly believe this is important to human nature. I believe that we've created what I would call a cage for ourselves as a people. Our economy can be quite soul crushing and quite take the life out of you and very depleting. So we need more spaces where people can figure out, what is my purpose? What is my calling in life? And maybe this is not even a stream of income. Maybe this is just something you do because it just fulfills you so much. But having financial stability in maybe some of these other spaces can mentally free you enough to figure out, what is my purpose? What is the thing I want to leave on this earth, right? And that is such a beautiful question to ask yourself, and a beautiful process to discover what that is for yourself. So, business income tips. Let's say you go through all that, you decide what your business is going to be, you start the business, and you start making some money. What am I going to do with this income? First, let me tell you, pay yourself as a CEO or do an owner's draw. A lot of times people will start a business and they just start commingling funds, which is this point right here. A lot of people have heard, don't commingle personal funds and business funds. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But like, how do we actually do that? We do that by having a business bank account that's separate from our personal bank account, right? And then let's say we get some business income, it pays into the business bank account. Then we pay ourselves, which it should be part of your business plan that explains how you pay yourself as an employee, or how much you write yourself a check for, whatever, do a draft, do a money transfer for, as a owner's draw, which owner's draw just means I'm paying myself as a CEO, as an owner. And then, first of all, you need to track it, right? But you get to decide. But what it shouldn't look like is you just getting paid from your business. It goes right into your personal account and you just free willy-nilly spending the money everywhere. No, you need to be paying yourself as a CEO. You need to be tracking all your business expenses and write-offs, which we just talked about. You don't commingle your personal and business funds. Send invoices to have an income paper trail. There are a lot of apps and resources that will do this for you. But even if you don't utilize an app that will do it for you, even if you're doing a service and right now you're not charging for it, send an invoice, have the price and have it crossed out and say 0, free, right? The point is you want to have a paper trail. And this is especially important if you plan on in the future going for a business loan, a business grant, a business anything, just to look like a legitimate business. Legitimate businesses have income paper trails. Also, save for taxes in a high yield savings account and pay your taxes quarterly. There are a lot of businesses in some states that will require you to do this. But it's just a good strategy to implement anyway, because rather than waiting for tax time of the year and then that bill can be much longer or larger than you anticipated, especially I'm talking to my content creators, my social media stars. You start blowing up, you start receiving all this money through your lives, through your platforms, through your affiliate links, all the different things. And then you get hit with tax season, you like, hold on, wait, what? What? And I owe how much? Right? So rather than having to go through that, first of all, put your taxes in a separate account, a high yield savings account, separated, separate than your business expenses, separate than savings, have its own dedicated account, high yield savings account, so that way your money can be compounding and working for you, and go ahead and just pay it quarterly. Also, use a secured business card to build business credit. A lot of people get confused on the difference between personal credit and business credit. They are two separate things. I believe the highest score for the business credit, actually, I don't want to misspeak, but it is different than what is the highest score for the personal credit. And when you are trying to figure out, like, okay, I'm just getting started, how do I actually build business credit? You do that by starting off with like a secured business line of credit, which is fairly easy to get, something like easy entry level one. I know Credit One does them. I know Staples. I know Amazon. And I'm not suggesting any of these companies, okay? I don't get paid by any of these companies. I'm not referring you to go with any of them. But basically, what I'm trying to tell you is rather than you jumping in with both feet, trying to go for a $10,000 loan or a whole bunch of business capital that you don't even have a plan for yet, it pays off to sometimes start small. And even if it's like a $200 limit, allowing it to grow from there, right? Starting small, putting that small one bill. I kind of talked about this when we talked about budgeting, right? We talked about credit cards. Choose that one small bill. Maybe you have like a Canva account, made this presentation on Canva. Canva is $12.99 a month. Maybe you get a Staples credit card, $200 limit, set it to $12.99 a month to draft from that credit card. Now on paper, it looks like you pay your bill consistently, pay it off every month, and I'm maintaining good business credit. Okay, so I'm saying that because sometimes people will try and go way too far, way too fast. And maybe you need to just start small. Okay. Next. Where was I? Oh, okay. Build systems that allow you to scale without burnout. This is a good one, guys, because I think a lot of time we get excited about starting a business, but we have never asked ourselves the question, well, what if everything goes right? Like, what if tomorrow you had 1,000 people reach out to you saying that they want your product or service? Could your business actually handle that level of activity? Most people, when they're just getting started, the answer will probably be no. And the reason why is because typically in the beginning, you haven't yet set up the systems and different things that allow you to scale without burning out or crashing out, right? So if I had 1,000 people reach out to me and I don't have maybe a website, or I don't have a intake form, or I don't have any emails to send them, I ain't got no information, then what could happen? I could lose that customer, right? So make sure that you have structure and scale. And again, like we were saying earlier, utilizing technology and systems can allow you to, rather than working in your business, work on the business, right? Next point, choose a business structure that protects you from liability and reduces your tax burden. Like we were saying earlier, maybe it makes sense for you to do LLC, but maybe it might make sense for you to do a sole proprietorship. Know that sole proprietorship exposes you to the most liability, but for some people, it doesn't make sense to go LLC. Another big one is some people try to too quickly go from LLC to S Corp. S Corp is great, but typically you go to S Corp when your business is accumulating a certain amount of revenue on a monthly or annual basis, that now it makes more sense to structure your business as a S Corp for tax purposes, right? So know the right structures to use and the right times to use them, and when's the right time to transition. Next, focus on solving problems for your ideal customer. Marketing includes positioning yourself as the answer to your prospect's problem. So I'm not a marketing expert. I am working with a very lovely young lady who I think we are going to have a very beautiful future partnership, where I'm going to be helping people with financial services, and she'll be able to help people with marketing. So I like to leave the marketing stuff to the marketing experts. But one thing I do know about business and marketing is that you can have the best product, best service in the world. But if people don't know where to find you, if people don't know who you are, if people don't know that you have the solution to their problem, then it's probably not going to, they're probably not gonna come find you, right? So it's important to make sure that when it comes to marketing, that not only are you positioning yourself as the answer, but that you're asking yourself, what is the problem that I'm solving for people? And that also prevents you from starting a business because you think it's something that you would want, versus this is something that the market is actually asking for, right? And that's a huge difference. Next, this is a big one and something that I am embracing myself. Yes, you should have an online presence, but it doesn't have to be everything, okay? It doesn't have to be a perfectly polished website and everything on social media is color coded and branded and font specific. And is that all nice to have? Yes, right? You have your perfect pin reels and your featured photos and all the things. And it can be quite overwhelming. And sometimes people get bogged down with all those little small details of having a social media or online presence. But don't forget the real world impact of going out and meeting people where they're at, shaking hands, solving problems, boots on the ground, right? So the point is just get started, okay? Having an online presence isn't everything. Sometimes you just got to meet people where they're at. So, and then lastly, if you are seeking a business loan, do the math on how much you will pay monthly for that loan and make sure that you can handle it every month. I think it's really crazy how often people will do so much work and so much proactive planning into getting approved for a loan, but then not actually give the same planning and thought to how they're going to pay off the loan. They just assume like, oh, once I get this $10,000 capital, I'm gonna put it in this, this, and this, and then people just gonna be running in my doors, and I'm just gonna make so much money. And it's like, yeah, that's best case scenario, but like, have we actually reverse engineered and done the numbers to determine like exactly how much I need to be saving and accumulating? And sometimes they'll allow you to have a loan and have you a period of time where you don't have to pay yet, and that's great, but that doesn't mean that we're not saving, that we're not putting money aside, right? So make sure that you're putting just as much thought as you did to get in the loan to pay off the loan. Okay, last few points here, guys. Let's see, where am I? Where's my print? Hold on. Okay. Oh. Okay, there we go. All right, so speaking of starting a business, speaking of business income, let me talk to you guys about my business. So, in case you didn't know, I am a wonderful representative of Primerica. Primerica is a company that has been around for almost 50 years. Next year, we'll make our 50-year anniversary, which is very exciting. Now, a lot of you probably know that I talk to people about financial services, financial planning, investing, getting out of debt, life insurance, and all of that is great, but also a certain part of what I do is helping to train and develop other people to do what I do as a money coach. So this right here is actually a brochure that we have, and I'm actually not going to read through all of this for the sake of time, but I do just want to hit some of the high points as to if we're looking for another stream of income, another way to make money, why you might consider Primerica to do that for you. First of all, we have numerous world-class leadership events. We earn commission not just based on your efforts, but also based on the efforts of your team. So remember, we looked at that cash flow quadrant. We are not employee, we're not self-employed, but we're showing you how to be a business owner where you can not only leverage your ability to make money, but have a team that even when you're not actively presently there, you have a team of people that are making money. It's better than a job because you have no 9 to 5 schedule. You can work where you want, with who you want, when you want. We have a fun and competitive environment, leadership and personal development, freedom to make your own schedule. We have paid life licenses. So the licenses that I have, not only my life insurance license, but also my investment licenses are company paid for. Paid security licenses, extremely low cost to start up. Actually, for the month of April, right here it says 99 plus 25. It's usually $124. For this month, it is $74. So for a few more days. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for another stream of income, you might want to reach out to me. Success is possible in any economy, right? People are always going to need financial services. And as a matter of fact, if we look right now at the jobs and wages that are increasing the most, service-based companies and jobs are always at the top, always within the top 5. And financial services specifically is usually up there. So it is always going to be, it's a recession-proof business, financial services. We're a public company, so we're listed on the New York Stock Exchange. We have all the benefits of a franchise, but we have no franchising fee or royalties. You can start part-time. You don't have to give up your full-time job. You don't have to give up your passion, your career. You can still keep building your own business and do Primerica at the same time. No financial experience necessary. If you've heard me before talk about my story of how I got started in the business, I was bad with money when I got started. I did not have any financial experience. But luckily I was able to come here, learn for myself, and then be able to teach other people. products you can be proud of, right? We're not selling lotions and potions. We ain't got no snake oil. We ain't selling vacation packages or high heels and bags. We ain't selling makeup. We ain't selling smoothies. We ain't selling things that are nice to have. We are selling financial services that people need. That is literally life or death. That is literally the difference between you being able to retire or not. So, essential financial services, great unlimited income potential. We have no ceilings here. We're never going to tell you, oh, you made too much money, you got to stop. Nope. Professional marketing materials. We have brochures, emails, websites, all the things to make you look professional. Remember earlier I was just saying you don't really need all that to get started. This is a company that can do it all for you. And it costs $74, $25 a month. Proven business model, accredited and regulated. We are regulated business. As a matter of fact, part of that $74, why it costs $74 to join us in business is because part of that requires you to get a background check, okay? We are a highly regulated business. We don't just allow anybody to come up in here. Why? Because we deal with people's money. If we deal with people's money, we have to make sure that these people are trustworthy. You cannot have a felony to do this business. So we are regulated by regulators such as the SEC, FINRA, the FTC, okay? And you don't want to mess with none of them little organizations. You're in business for yourself and not by yourself. We have an amazing training program. We meet weekly. We do it on Zoom. You can do it from the comfort of your home. Get the best business training in the world, in my opinion. And what I love is that what the business practices and business principles that we talk about, yes, they're relevant to Primerica, but they're relevant to all business. This is the type of business training, business development that can help you no matter what business you choose to go into. And then we also have cutting edge technology, no territories or limits or restrictions. Let me just say we are in United States, all 50 states, including Puerto Rico, Guam, and Canada, but not the world. So I just want to clarify that. Home office staff of 2,000 people supporting you. Most business, again, when you start out, you just won. You a solopreneur and you are in all the hats. Imagine having a whole office of 2,000 people who are working on your behalf. That's amazing. And then be significant in personal financial literacy and empowerment. What we're seeing on this side of the screen with this wheel is all the different services that we offer through our company, all the different partners that we have, which is amazing. And again, you can think of us like the Amazon of financial services, right? So we are a one-stop shop solution with home delivery. When you log in, you're seeing a whole bunch of different products and services from a whole bunch of different companies, not just Primerica products. And we work with some of the best financial companies in this country. And again, these are things that people need, not just nice to have. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, you know what, Jasmine, I am thinking about starting a business or at least getting another stream of income, something that could pay me a couple $100, a couple $1,000 every month, consider Primerica. This is the type of thing you can get licenses, you can work it when you want to, you can pick it up, you can put it down, you get to choose. We're part of an amazing team. I have a picture of my amazing team right there at the top. Our organization is based out of Maryland, but we have people all across the country, all states. Like I said, we meet virtually, and our organization is led by a Black woman. And I think that's important to mention because the average financial advisor is a middle-aged white man. Okay? And who can relate to that? I mean, let me not say it like that. Some people can relate to that. If you can relate to that, great for you. But for most people from where I come from, they can't relate to that. So being able to have people that look like you, come from where you come from. My broker is a Black woman. Our head broker of our organization is a Black woman. We have couples. We have romantic partners, mother-daughter trios, father, daughter. No, wait, sorry. mother-son tree couples, right? We have all different types of partnerships, is what I'm trying to say. So this business is absolutely amazing. If you're really looking for something for a stream of income, definitely consider it. Now, next we're going to talk about your money machine. My money machine, my money machine, my money machine, go beep, beep. Okay, I'm getting delirious. So, money machine. I want to help you build your money machine. A machine does not work with just one cog or one part of a machine. A machine works with multiple parts, multiple cogs all working together, right? So maybe your money machine starts with a 9 to 5 corporate job, but then you also create an ebook because whatever skills you have at that 9 to 5, you're able to translate it into an ebook. And then you become a content creator and you start making some videos and getting paid off of that and some affiliate links. And then also you do ride share on the side because, sometimes on the weekend you're just chilling and you can make some extra funds. And then you start coaching and you're showing people how to, I don't know, do makeup or how to crochet or whatever, right? And then you have enough money that you get an investment property and you have some renters and now you have money flowing in there, and you also choose to join me in business and you start your Primerica business. So now each one of these cogs are making money, and as you can see, there are different arrows that are going to different places, right? Your retirement fund, your tax savings, emergency fund, generational wealth. You're paying off your debt, paying off your short-term savings, you're paying your bills. Maybe this is going towards your dream home. But the point is, you're not reliant on any one of these things. It's a machine that all these things go together and it matches your lifestyle, your goals. If this isn't, or let me point to this one. If this is important to you because you don't have no kids, then obviously this wouldn't be there, right? Maybe it's a plane because you're flying out the country. But understand that all these things work together and that it's protected by your safety net at the bottom. That's your insurance, that's your emergency accounts, that's your reserves, that's your asset protection. But this is what I want to help you to get your income to, where it can look like a machine and not just one thing, right? So, lastly, guys, as I've been mentioning, cooperative economics, super passionate about it. If you've never heard this African proverb before, I would like to share it with you. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That to me is important to share because I think a lot of times in business, we are brainwashed and conditioned by this capitalist society to be very individualistic and feel like I need to suffer in silence and I need to kind of do this on my own. But I think there's so much beauty on when people can work together to elevate, grow, and expand their income together. So I want to give you 10 steps on how you can get together with a group of people, let's say 3 to 5, keeping it really simple. Get together with a group of 3 to 5 people and how you guys as a group can expand your income. 10 steps. Step 1, start with income awareness. Be transparent and lay out how much everyone is currently making and where it's going. Discuss financial goals of the group and make sure everyone is in agreement. Clearly outline everyone's contribution towards the group goal. This is really important. And again, you need to make sure you're working with people who are in agreement and alignment with you, right? We're not looking for the person who have the individualist dog eat dog. I'm out here just working for myself type of mindset, right? We're working with people who have similar mindsets. They all are in agreement. Maybe y'all signed some contracts, right? Whatever. But get agreement on what is the goal. Then next, we're going to talk about investigate income barriers and boosters. So before we start creating new streams of income, we need to make sure we've exhausted all the efforts to boost our current income, like asking for a promotion or raising prices, and then also consider barriers like limited time or need to improve skills. So basically, when it comes to needing, to make sure, like, have I actually looked through all my options here to exhaust all efforts before we create a new stream of income? Because if our time is limited, or if we have skills that we need to further acquire, then we need to hit pause on the group and come back when maybe we have more time freedom or more skills that I need to acquire, right? Next, identify monetizable skills. Are there things you or someone in the group already does or has experience doing that could be turned into a business? Discuss skills, abilities, routine tasks that you do at work and discover if any of these tasks can be turned into earning potential, right? Again, this is really important because most of the time you have skills and you don't even know that could be turned into a business. That can be turned into, and maybe it's, I have one piece of the puzzle, but maybe I'm really good with numbers. Somebody else is really good with organization. Somebody else is really good with holding people accountable. And if we all bring it together, we could turn it into a business, right? So identify monetizable skills. Next, stabilize before expanding. If anyone is experiencing crisis or financially struggling, consider this before setting up a group plan to expand together. It might make sense to start with a plan to build a stronger safety net or relief. This will say relief fund or relief from an unplanned financial emergency, right? So if somebody is currently catching up on a bill or they're this close to being evicted, then it doesn't make sense to start a plan like this. Your first priority needs to be stabilization. Then we can worry about expanding, right? 5, consistent small steps to build momentum. The first few meetings could be just focused on discussing what's working and what's not. There's going to be a trial and error period. Savings takes time to accumulate. Marketing strategies take time to create and test. We all know when we start a business, we have the ideal. We hope that everything goes like this, but sometimes it goes like that, right? So there's going to be a period of time where it's going to be, right, finding the right shoe that fits and allowing your group to go through that. Now, 6, hold each other accountable. Meet on a regular basis, and at the end of each meeting, end it with action items so that each consecutive meeting, everyone in the group is making progress towards the goal. Clearly define milestone, mini goals, deliverables, and how you measure success as a group. This is really important because sometimes people will have different ideas of what's the destination, or how do we know we're making progress? How do we know that this is working? If we don't lay out what are our deliverables, what are our measures of success, how do we know if we are succeeding, right? 7, implement systems to leverage more. Systems, we already talked about this, stands for saving yourself time, energy, and money. And what ways as a group can you implement systems that can increase income while also saving yourself and the group time, energy, and money? I don't need to further explain this, but very important, as a group, you're coming together saying, okay, this comes more natural to me, so I'm gonna do this. Okay, we can leverage this technology so that it can automatically send emails, and now we don't have to waste time doing that, right? Next, combining assets and pooling resources. Once everyone in the group starts leveling up, you guys can start implementing strategies that combine credit access, pool savings, and investment capital funds, and sharing risk to access better investment opportunities. So this is something I'm definitely learning more about, but credit can be stacked, and you can use credit that is accessible to more than one person if you guys are investing in a group together, or also just pooling resources and savings accounts, which we've already talked at length about. But understand that as you guys start leveling up, if you, let's say I have access to 10,000 in credit, but I have somebody else in the group who has 100,000 in credit. Okay, now we have 110,000 in credit. What can we do with that, right? amazing, right? Much better and much faster way to scale rather than trying to, again, do it alone. Legal structuring and protection. Make sure as a group you discuss the qualifications and stipulations for others to join the group, how the group is managed, how the funds are managed, and how to leave the group. Sometimes the people you start with is not the people you end with, right? So making sure that you have a plan that, okay, if somebody else wants to come in this group or somebody wants to leave the group, how we withdraw funds, how we increase funds, what we spend it on, all of that needs legal structuring and protection. And then number 10, give back and teach others. It's important to make sure as a group you discuss ways of how to give back to the community or teach others how you were able to successfully as a group grow and expand your incomes and financially scale together. So it doesn't make sense to just do it and just be successful among only your group, right? It's better if you can teach other people and show them how we can all scale together, because if we have more groups doing this, our community in general is going to get better, right? So this is what it can look like. This is just a visual representation of those 10 points that we just went through, but it starts like this. People are looking stressed, tired, broke, carrying debt. So what happens? You guys sit together, you start laying out, okay, this is what I can do, this is what skills I have, okay, this is what business we can start, okay, with this skill we can do this, with this, okay, we can make money like this, right? And maybe y'all found an opportunity that you guys want to invest together. You want to pool your money and you see a vacant lot in your community and you're trying to figure out, okay, what can we do with this, right? It's an eyesore in our community. It's not bringing no value. Instead, what if we as a group could purchase this and turn it into something? So that's what y'all decide to do. Y'all each individually start your own businesses, but you also have complementary services. So maybe we have somebody who's a bookkeeper, somebody who is a tax preparer, and somebody who is an investment broker. And all three of y'all have your own business, but you also work together. You offer services that, because they're complementary services, let's say you work with one business owner, and now one business owner can get serviced by all three of the people, and all three of the people making money. The business owner is serviced because they needed all three of those services, and a bookkeeper, a tax person, and an investment broker. So now y'all making money together, and now y'all start to look at, okay, what systems can we improve? Can we improve our email? Can we improve our ebook? Can we have better filing systems, right? So that's the trial and error period where we're testing things and making it better. And then what comes next? Now we're seeing our money scale. We're reducing the time that we're spending in business. We're seeing our money go up. We're seeing our yields and investments go up. Then what happens? We're able to buy the property. We're able to buy the vacant lot. They decide to start gardening and growing food in the vacant lot. And then what happens? They're able to give back to the community through a farmer's market. So not only is this now improving the lifestyle of these people, because they get to be outside, they get to grow their own food, they get a better looking community, but they're also giving back through a farmer's market. And maybe they give away free food to a food bank, right? So guys, that is all I have. I'm so proud of myself for sticking through and doing all these live streams. It has been a lot, a lot of talking. Even right now, my voice is hoarse. I'm talking so much. A 3-hour live stream. Oh my gosh. If you watch this whole live stream, thank God for you. I love you. If you didn't, it's okay. I understand. It's a lot. But I honestly feel very excited about where I am right now. I'm excited to be creating more content. I'm excited to be talking about things that I'm passionate about. I want to do more of this, more financial literacy awareness, even beyond Financial Literacy Awareness Month, just more live streams, more conversations with you guys where I can really break things down. And even if it's long, it's going to be for somebody, right? I hope that somebody got something out of this, even if it's just the courage, the mindset adjustment, the perspective switch. I hope that something out of these 4 live streams that I've done has impacted you in some way. I'm really proud of myself for getting it done. And I said out loud that I was going to do something, and I stuck with it. So I am happy to be done with it. I'm happy that I was able to get through it. And lastly, you guys, Please reach out to me. You know, any of these topics struck a chord with you, even if it's just letting me know, like, hey, this really impacted me in this way. I really liked your message about this. I am open to receiving any feedback, or if you are trying to plan how to implement any of the things I have talked about in this live stream or any of my past live streams, you're just trying to figure things out. My consultations are free, my meetings are free. I would love to sit down with you, walk you through how do I set these things up for myself? How do I implement cooperative economics? How can I start saving, investing, getting out of debt, budgeting? How do I adjust my money mindset? How do I invest as a group? How do I protect my income? These are all things I would love to support and help you with. This is my direct cell phone number and email. This is a QR code and link directly to my booking link. It goes right to my calendar. So I would love to meet with you to talk more about this. But that is all I have for you guys. We have been here for 3 hours. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Financial Literacy Awareness Month. Pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back for choosing to learn, choosing to celebrate this Financial Literacy Month by learning. I'm proud of you. Okay? And you can do it. I love you. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye.